And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your usual Wednesday night festivities here on the Bandit Racing League coverage, courtesy of Full Send Racing Network. Tonight we're hosting the 24/7 Sim Racing Services 100 here at Rockingham Speedway, a venue that we have not visited in the Bandit Racing League in quite a number of seasons. Before we go anywhere and we give you any information about tonight's pre-race, we of course want to thank, as always, our titular and one of our biggest sponsors of the series, the Perfect Shine Auto Spa. And we also want to thank tonight's sponsor of tonight's race, that it being 24/7 Sim Services. For all your race control and broadcasting needs for any iRacing League racing or any series-related content, go check out 24/7 Sim Services. They're linked to both their Facebook and their website are in the description down below. Also, as well, to Apex Sim Racing. All of these great sponsors that bring us the lovely content we put out each week. And for the best pedals, button boxes, wheels, anything you want to get in racing, go check out Apex Sim Racing. Link, as always, down below. Hi, everybody. As always, I am your host, Mr. Marshall Crocker. Alongside me in the broadcast booth, we have had him all season so far, and we will for the rest of the year, Mr. Chris Ferreira. It is always a pleasure to be back here, Chris, and this is actually going to be something a little different. This venue, one that we haven't visited together since we brought you on in the channel. It was back in Season 8, back with Evan Wall, when Evan Wall Media was hosting these races. He and I were the last ones to ever broadcast this series in Season 8 of the Bandit Racing League, so it's been a while. It's a track that's a lot of fun, and you were just talking about how excited you were for it. So as far as what you like about it as a track and what you think will make great racing tonight, what is it about Rockingham that people should be excited for?
Oh, how do you not love this place? This place provides so much good racing. It really tests the driver's skill, especially with this car with the 750 horsepower package. It's such a unique track. It's a small track, but it feels like a bigger track sometimes. There's multiple grooves to run. It's slick. It's abrasive. It really provides a really good test to these drivers, which we have some of the best here on the iRacing service, and I'm really excited to see what they can do tonight.
Yeah, I think tonight is going to bring out the best of everybody. You know, this is a track where you really get to flex your muscle as a driver who's good at tire conservation, who just knows the car and knows what they're doing here in the stock cars. And we'll talk a lot about it. There's a lot of storylines going into tonight. But one driver that historically we know has had quite a handle here at this particular racetrack, he's currently sitting in the pits, but it's Mr. Cody Welch. We talk about him a lot. Obviously a fan favorite of the series, the 85 car, but it is important to mention, going to be something to keep an eye on. This track was the site of Cody Welch's last win. We talk a lot about that winless streak. That is one of the craziest and unluckiest things we have ever seen. But Cody Welch, last time he got a win here was Season 8, 55 races ago at Rockingham, and we have some clips of that, so we'll show those in a little bit once we get some free time here on the broadcast. But first, we want to go into last week's race. You got to look back to look forward. So we're going to do a quick race recap here of last week's race and those festivities if you didn't see them at Las Vegas, and then that'll give us some context for what Chris and I will tell you guys about coming into this race and storylines you need to keep an eye on. So, as always, let's get ready for our race recap, courtesy of Perfect Shine Auto Spa. And here we go for this week's race recap of the Double Down. I believe it was the 150 there at Las Vegas last week, Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It was Brett Guzik on the pole. The 04 car had a great run there down to the first corner, and really all day was quite good on the restarts, at least early on. And right off the bat, it was a battle between two former champions, Guzik and Nickerson, back and forth. The 04 and the 2 car, that's a battle that we are not unfamiliar with in the past couple seasons of the Bandit Racing League here. So the 2 and the 04 were back and forth through the first 15 laps. But before long, we'd get a caution. We had Mark Allen Bivens getting wide there, getting into the outside wall off turn number 4, and then he was careened into by a couple of cars, bringing out the first big yellow of the day. Then it became two battles. Both Mike Wright, one of the fastest there at Daytona the week before, he was battling it out with Brett Guzik. Then it was Joshua McQuiggan and Cody Welch, the two you see there on your screen. They were back and forth all day. Their strategy split up, and it became McQuiggan who was the guy to beat up front with the 29 car, absolutely dominant in that final stint. But eventually, Mike Wright, the guy who was so fast at Daytona, unfortunately got caught in a wreck. We talked about the rookie in the series, finally got a chance to make his mark in week number 2. He would get McQuiggan, would pull away in one of the great last final 5-lap stints we've ever seen in the Bandit Racing League, and he'd hold off 5 other cars in an incredible finish to win in that final 5-lap segment. So Mike Wright in the 14 car would get his first win in the Bandit Racing League at Las Vegas, and alongside Ashley Lyle becomes your second race winner this season. And that was your race recap of the Double Down 150 at Las Vegas, presented by Perfect Shine Auto Spa. So as always, Chris. There's always storylines to come out of this series, even after 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks of Bandit Racing League Season 11 racing, and we already have plenty to talk about. And last week it was Mike Wright, and he's still, I think, looking quick tonight. Mike Wright sitting, third on the leaderboard right now. Has been so good in this series in a short time here. So as this being a track that we've already talked about has a little bit more technique to it, is one that has a veteran sensibility to it. Do you think Mike is maybe going to be at a disadvantage to guys like the Brett Guzicks and the Benjamin Lacey's and the Nick Nickersons, who are very experienced, or is the fact that he's seeing this track for the first time same as anybody who's joined this series in the last 3 seasons? Maybe will that unfamiliarity in the series, do you think that'll play into his hands tonight?
Being all so familiar with the guys of the Bandit Racing League, that everybody has gotten so used to racing with each other over the past couple seasons that you kind of know what the guy in front of you is going to do or the guy behind you is going to do. So that could hurt him a little bit, just not knowing what his fellow competitors are going to be doing around him. But I mean, this guy has showed up in Bandit Racing League and he's put on one heck of a show up to this point, and I think he's going to continue to do that. He's shown pace everywhere we've gone, and I really like what I'm seeing out of that 14 car. I'm looking for him to get to victory lane a couple more times this season, and let's see if tonight is one of those nights.
Well, as far as our usual picks for the week lately in this series, we've been trying to do any guesstimation, if possible, as to what is going to happen in any given week. As we see Nick Nickerson plow into the cones on the end of pit road there. Hopefully, he doesn't do that in the real race. But tonight here, Chris, we got our picks up on the screen. How are you feeling? You said you picked Benjamin Lacey before the race as the guy you want to watch out for tonight, as potentially being your winner pick at Rockingham. What is it about that 7 car you feel like shows good potential tonight?
Well, I couldn't go with your pick, Cody Welch. I couldn't be the guy that cursed him. But
no.
My pick, Benjamin Lacey, he's really good at conserving tires. We saw that all last season in the Xfinity car, which I believe is probably the most similar to this car here with the 750 horsepower package. I think that his ability to save tire on a longer run, if we do get some green flag racing, you're going to see him get up to the front really quick. And I think if there's a guy that can do it and he's hungry for a win, especially with how the championship ended last season, he's trying to get back to victory lane, and that's my pick tonight.
Yeah, and for me, you can see it on screen. I did try to play the caveat here. I'm not trying to play the spoiler here, or the broadcast jinx. We did put not Cody Welch on the screen, but that 85 car, I just feel like these are the races that I feel like appeal to him. And in a universe where we just talked about with Benjamin Lacey, I think Benjamin's a guy that he needs a race that maybe doesn't need to go green most of the way, but I feel like a conventional race really plays into Benjamin's hands, where he can utilize his ability to conserve tires, he can utilize his long game strategy, and sort of play the game that way. Whereas Cody Welch, I feel like he's as best as anybody else could. He rolls with punches quite well. He can deal with crazy races with lots of cautions. He can get back through the field like nobody's business. It's just those clutch moments, those late race short segments that maybe he's had trouble executing with in the past couple seasons. That may very well change tonight. In fact, I hope it does. And we're always like to be impartial here in the series, but for some people that just they've really worked for it. They've really pushed over the last couple seasons. You like to see them get repaid for their efforts. So as we see Benny Hogan tornadoing on the backstretch, we certainly hope that it could be a good night for Cody Welch. So the 85 my pick, the 7 the pick for Chris. And with that, we come to the end of pre-race practice. The checkered flag has come out, so we're now going to get into qualifying. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so as always, we want to go to you guys watching at home. What are you guys expecting tonight here for the 24/7 Sim Services 125 at Rockingham, third round of the Bandit Racing League? Well, first of all, I'll ask, do you expect a new winner tonight? Do you think any of Ashley Lyle, who won the first race at Daytona, was very quick last week, leads the points with 98? Do you think she has a very good chance tonight to go for number 2? Or do you think Mike Wright, again, can use that great pace and the fact he's third in practice to put on another clinic, another great performance here late in a race like he's done the last 2 weeks? Or do you think we're getting a new winner? I'll leave that up to you guys here in the broadcast booth. We'll read off some answers here. And we love the weekly, dynamic, the rapport we get going with you guys and the community we formed here on the Full Send Racing Network coverage of the Bandit Racing League. It's really, really awesome. And I hope you guys are all ready to go tonight. So with that, we're going to keep an eye here on qualifying. But as we see here, Chris, I mean, you were talking about a little bit pre-race. Give us a little bit of an intro for what to expect with Rockingham. But as a driver, you were just running some pre-race laps. What do you expect? As what do these drivers have to deal with? How is this track in a race? And especially with the horsepower package, the 750 on these Cup cars we're running this season.
Oh boy, the car's a handful around this track right now. I'd like to see how this track kind of changes over the run here or over the race. This is actually technically set to morning time, if I remember correctly how they had to set up the session. It's set to morning time, so it should theoretically get hotter, which is going to make it a little bit slicker. These cars with the 750 horsepower package and the smaller wing in the rear, it makes it a bit of a handful. So traditionally, you've seen guys go around the bottom here. You're going to see guys all over the track tonight. You can really approach the corner in so many different ways because these corners, they're very dynamic. One of them's a little bit shorter and one of them's a little bit longer. It's almost like an egg shape, kind of like a Darlington, but on a smaller scale here. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. I hope that we don't get a lot of cautions. I really love this track, and I really want to see these guys get after it tonight, trying to save their stuff and try to navigate their way through the lap traffic, because that's also gonna be a factor tonight.
Yeah, any of these shorter tracks, this being the first really short venue we've been to all season, a little bit shorter than Las Vegas. As we see Sean Britt here, the Rollsville, North Carolina native, for the home state of Sean Britt tonight, as we are in Rockingham, North Carolina. But yeah, you can just see how short the lap is, and the fact that it's a non-symmetrical racetrack is one of my favorite things about it. I love tracks that aren't cookie cutter, that have some personality to them, and especially the way these cars just shoot into turn one, that high banking, and then rolling off that hard transition back to the backstretch. It's such a fascinating shaped racetrack, and one that I think, would you agree, maybe, Chris, it's going to be hard to get in a groove with, not being symmetrical. I think, guys, even though this is a shorter race, only 100 laps at a pretty short racetrack, theoretically shorter, it's going to be one that I think really tests you as a driver, both mentally and physically, keeping your hands moving.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this track is very much of a rhythm track, but what ends up happening is that the tire's wearing, you need to put the car somewhere else. It's just not going to stick where you need it to go when you first started the run. And obviously, you're going to have to pass some guys, and there's going to be lap traffic involved, so these guys are going to be out of rhythm constantly. You're going to constantly have to adapt, and I think that is probably one of the most interesting parts about this racetrack, is that it's constantly changing. You're constantly having to keep adapting to your situation, and that's where I think you see some of the best kind of rise up to the top. But man, I wish I was in the car tonight, but I'm kind of happy I'm up here with you. It's a lot less stress and a lot more fun up here with you.
I gotta say, like, based on the laps you were putting up there just a minute ago, you were saying you would have been fourth on the pre-race practice leaderboard. It's kind of a shame we don't see that number 13 car down there on the track, but I'm sure one of these other weeks maybe we'll get a chance to see it come back in. But you sounded like you really like this track, so it'll be fun to have your perspective here at Rockingham. Always one I've enjoyed secondhand, but I can honestly say I've run probably fewer laps here than I have at pretty much any other track on the calendar. If you want a track that I have quite a bit of experience at, next week we're going to Sonoma, so that's where my expertise will lie. But as of right now, we got Jay Rome here running some laps on the screen. The Comox BC native, currently sitting 32nd, but hasn't put in a full flyer yet. So maybe either just about to finish up here, or maybe hasn't got a chance to run a full proper lap, and is just using that time after his qualifying attempts to just run some practice, get some laps in here clean. And I think everybody, Chris, should probably be maximizing the time they have to put in laps, because yeah, tonight I think more so than Vegas or Daytona, and maybe arguably harder than next week at Sonoma. This is, I would say, probably one of the hardest tracks in the calendar, right?
Yeah, with this package and this track, I mean, with the conditions and all that stuff, this is going to be a challenge tonight. And I mean, I'll keep saying it throughout the whole broadcast. This is going to be a good one if we can get some green flag racing in it. I'm jealous of these guys a little bit, but it really is going to be a fun one. I want it to go green. Even getting on and off pit road is hard here. So everything is a challenge with it. Everything's going to be a fight. So I'm excited to go racing.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be one of those races you want to win as a driver, because there are just some races that are so tough that you get a little bit extra street cred from coming away with the victory. So tonight, the 24/7 Sim Services 125 at Rockingham. This is going to be one for the ages. Here we go. Brett Guzik, your pole sitter tonight, presented by Apex Sim Racing. Thank you, as always, to Apex Sim Racing for presenting your pre-race starting grid. And let's run down the order. For BC Sim Sport, it is the 04 of Brett Guzik on the pole for this second time this season, back-to-back after his pole last week at Vegas. Along to his outside, it was the same guy that joined him on the front row last week, Mr. Nick Nickerson. The two-car starts in the 2 spot, and crazy to see any two-race period without a win, or even really a close win by the number 2 car. He's had a great year so far, sits second in points, quite fittingly with that number 2. So this has kind of been the early season of runner-ups. We'll see if that sticks up again tonight with Nick Nickerson. Ricky Hart Jr. very quietly having a good year, but the points maybe just not translating as much as he'd like so far in the first 2 races. He rolls off on the inside of row number 2. Alongside him, Christopher Hamilton. He finished runner-up last week at Las Vegas. It was great to get a chance to talk to him and get a little bit of info from Christopher, a guy that we've talked to a select couple times, but maybe looking for a little bit more tonight. Sean Britt starts in 5th in the top 5 of the 98 car alongside Curtis Yancey starting 6th here. Benjamin Lacey, Chris's pick for the race win tonight. The number 7 car starts in 7th alongside Daytona winner Ashley Lyle. Zach Hillman starts alongside Cody Welch here, the fan favorite. Of course, 55 races since he won here at Rockingham in season number 8. Mike Wright starts on the outside of Paul Wilson. Of course, Wright, the race winner last week at Las Vegas, and that race did hold up after post-race inspection. Going down the list a little bit, we are about to the end here, so we will scroll down here for you. After Mike Wright, we then have Mr. Kevin Foster, followed by Jacob Elkins. After that, then we got Jonathan Platt starting on the inside of row number 8 with Dawson Guzik to his outside. Then we got Jason Greenwell in the 83 car, starting alongside Trey Ellis. Connor Gibson starts 19th, Bill Harkins in 20th. That'll be our top 10 there for now, and we'll finish it off with David Lakey, Abhi Viswasam, and Eddie Hagee starts alongside a returning 48 car of Alec Davin. That's a name we haven't seen here in this series in a little bit here, Chris, and as a guy who had some race wins last year, definitely got to watch that number 48 car. So that will be about all for the time being right now, and with that, you'll just have to scroll down the rest of the order there. That way we can make sure we get some time to call this start, as the field should be in control. Brett Guzik here any moment now. We're still waiting. No, we're going to go one more lap. I wasn't sure if Rockingham was one of those 2-lap warm-up tracks, and it looks like it is. So we'll put it at the tower here. We'll just scroll it down. That way you can see the rest of the starting lineup. But there was your top 20, courtesy of Apex Sim Racing. And actually, as far as my lap count here goes, it does say this is counting as lap 2. So I guess we're going to take one lap off there, Chris. Do you think with only 99 laps, you guys are going to have time to get some passes done?
I sure think so.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. There's going to be a lot of drama tonight. I can already see it.
Well, we have the, let me do some counting here. Actually, the first 3 rows of the starting lineup, all rows that are currently winless. I know it's been only 2 races, but there are a lot of talented guys there, I believe. Apart from Sean Britt and Christopher Hamilton, everybody in that top 6, and actually the top 10 in general, aside from Zach Hillman, all of whom have previous race wins. So this is going to be a star-studded top 10 to start this race, and with that, the pace car is ready. Taking the left-hander onto pit road, the 04 car controls the field, and we are green here at Rockingham for the 24/7 Sim Services 100 at Rockingham Speedway. The 2 car, it looked like he was going to jump the start, had to back off of the restart zone. That was the 1 car get by. He's around already. Ricky Hart Jr. spins it, saves it. Nick is in the wall. Do we have a yellow yet? I think we're still green as far as I'm seeing. It was just a crazy first corner there as the 1 car almost goes around but saves it, and Sean Britt moves up 3 spots in 1 corner.
Are you not entertained already? I mean, what is going on? This is chaos, but man, what a good start on that 04 car. Really checked up the 2. He got a little loose, but he's already checking out. Now these guys are going to have to either hope for a caution or go and track down this 04 car. Great start by Bert here. He is rolling, but man, that's some really big drama early. That could have ended a lot of guys' night, really.
Ashley Lyle fell back like a stone there as well. She got caught up in all the chaos there, back into 13th after starting 8th. Yeah, Brett Guzik currently, just to give you a little bit of info, I believe he's currently 2 seconds clear of second place already, 2 laps into a track that is a mile in length. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Just that first corner. We're just going back here trying to get you a butt kicker racing replay of the issues there for our good friend, Mr. Ricky Hart Jr. there. But back to this battle for second, because Sean Britt, who had a great start there, the 98 car, the butt kicker car, immediately capitalizing on that chaos there in the first corner. But now he's got a very fast number 2 race car right behind him, ready to pounce.
Yeah, if you're one of these guys that was almost caught up in that, you're just going to take a deep breath and settle in here. Long race ahead of you. Start looking at the back of this red 04 car and start trying to track him down. But yeah, that's scary at the beginning, but now it's time to settle in and really focus up.
Just saw your butt kicker racing replay, and that was just very simply Ricky Hart Jr. getting loose there on cold tires to start off the race, and that led to a couple guys behind him getting checked out, but he managed to save it. Great save by the 1. And it looked like it was Ashley Lyle there who unfortunately took the brunt of that unfortunate incident, getting shuffled back a little bit there in the order. But first lap, cold tires, the guy goes around to turn 1. I think, Chris, is that going to be even kind of a standard tonight on these first runs? That first corner going to be tricky on cold tires?
Oh, I think so. You're going to see that all night. This track's already tough as it is, and when you get out here on some stickers, it's going to be a little slick. So just being conscious of that. Everybody wants to get real racy real quick, but there's no rush. We have plenty of racing here ahead of us tonight. These guys understand that, and they're going to get right after it.
Nick Nickerson down to the bottom. That 2-car really pounding the inside yellow line there on the 98 of Sean Britt. It's going to work in the short term. He gets about perfectly alongside there off the exit of turn number 2, but the better run on the outside for the 98. And Chris, you were talking about that high line running closer to the wall with this package. That's going to be more ideal. Do you see the 2-car, even with his talent, being able to get a proper pass done there on the bottom to negate the run of the 98?
Yeah, I think that's textbook. That comes with experience. You know, Nick is so good at places like this where he's able to use his experience to his benefit. He's going to work him. He's going to apply pressure, and he's just going to take his time. He's going to watch what he's doing and set him up. And hopefully Sean can stay in front of him. This is great experience for him running up front, and he looks like he has pretty good control of this thing right now. But yeah, this is awesome to see. Some new faces up front and some veterans hounding him for the position.
We have a special guest here up in the top 4. Cody Welch up 6 spots after starting in 10th place. He's now right on the back of this battle for 2nd position. He's up on that outside line, running about a half lane up on the 2-car, trying to follow in the wake of the 98. A really strong crossover there from Sean Britt, just barely getting in front of the 2-car Nick Nickerson. If he had accidentally just clipped him there, he was getting sent into the outside wall for turn number 4. So really fun battle with the top 4 here. And then a little jump back to Curtis Yancey, the 51 car, very quietly sitting here in 4th, just past Christopher Hamilton, who after an early start has lost a little bit of pace, has fallen back, but he's back in the outside line. So Christopher Hamilton may start working his way back through the field. But Curtis Yancey, a guy who pretty slow start to the season, but this is the kind of track, I think, with Curtis's abilities, his ability to keep the hands moving. I think he's going to be really quick in the short run, so if we get some cautions late in the race, I think absolutely a threat. But over these longer runs, he's got something to prove as far as tire conservation and I think the necessary skills for a long race at a tough tire track like this one.
He's really making this low line work, which I'd love to run the low line here. Up top is going to have a lot of momentum, as we've seen at other tracks, but he's really making the low line work for him right now, as you see him go a little bit higher up in 1 and 2, but 3 and 4, he is really, really crushing it coming out of the corner.
Look at our other top movers throughout the course of the race here. The 48 car, the returning car of Alec Daffin here. Again, former race winner back in Season 10 in the Bandit Racing League. That Twitch number 48 car just got ahead of Ashley Lyle. So he's flying. Started back in 24th, now all the way up to 11th, scratching the outside of the top 10 there, just behind Jacob Elkins in that 09 car, mirroring the Eric Almirola Smithfield scheme. Back up to 3rd, though, you just saw in the background a moment ago, Cody Welch. He got the 2-car Nickerson, so it wasn't a case of Nickerson moving forward. It's a case of Welch moving forward, Nick moving backward. Now the 85 will take on the 98 car for 2nd place to try to become the runner-up here to the currently flying away Brett Guzik.
And I just want to note this as well. I mean, Brett has a really good start already, but he is already starting to track down these guys in front of him that he's going to be putting a lap down. He's about a corner away from putting some of these guys as we get a caution.
We do indeed. That is kind of a surprise here. We've seen a couple cars, Dawson Guzik and Kevin Foster, as well as Hunter Henry. Big damage to the right side of Kevin Foster's race car, and the front nose almost entirely disappears. Who just slid in the back there? That was Hayden Paul and the 08 car, both of whom got kind of involved there. As again, Brett just sneaks by the 04 car. As you're talking about that lap traffic, he didn't want to get involved at all. So we have some damage here, and you're absolutely right. First caution of the day, and I know it's just the first one. I don't want to jinx anything, but Chris, what do we say about cautions here?
Here, for sure, cautions breed cautions.
That's absolutely true. So, yeah, the 38 car just flying in there on the 44 of Dawson Guzik, sliding up, catching him in the corner panel. He goes in the wall, and then it's the aftermath here. That kind of surprised me is you see Hunter Henry in the background takes a big slide. The 9 car checking up there in time and avoiding the luckily non-textured pace car. But then everybody just trying to sneak by. You see Matt Crockett there, and of course the 8 car of Kevin Foster with really big damage as well. So maybe we'll go back to Kevin Foster's perspective, see where he got caught up in this, because he looked okay here at the start. We go to the front perspective. Oh, he just barely gets clipped by the 44. The Clutch Automotive number 8 entry absolutely gets tanked and actually gets stuck in the outside wall there for a moment. So the normally reliable iRacing collision physics maybe acting up there a little bit. But Nick Nickerson already down pit road here. We're seeing Chris only, 15 laps in? The 2 cars down pit road, Ashley Lyle down pit road, the hard-charging Alec Daffin. So early pit stops. I'm thinking, Chris, is that a case of early fuel strategy getting off sync, or is that people want tires as soon as they possibly can get them?
I think it could be a little bit of both. You know, I think Brett was going to stay out regardless. He built up such a good lead, where he was able to probably conserve a little bit. So he was going to stay out regardless, I think. But to get off strategy here is super key. You know, anybody that's getting off strategy now, that could play dividends for them later in the race, or it could really hurt them when you want the tires and they're not there anymore because you only get 3 sets in the pits. That could hurt you later on. So I like the call. I like the gamble. I don't know if Nick sustained some damage there from that earlier lap 1 little chaotic little mess that we had there, but I like the shakeup. You know, be different. Why not?
Yeah, that should kind of be the slogan for tonight, or really any race in the series, with guys up front who are going to be dominant. You know, we're going to have pace. And if you're saying, okay, realistically, am I going to beat Brett Guzik in the 04 car on pace? Maybe not. So I'm going to have to think outside the box, try to put myself in a good situation, and outthink a guy that historically been one of the smartest racing minds in the series, a guy that just, Brett strategically really, really solid. He's always got a plan in mind, and sometimes things fall apart, you know, towards the end of races. He's had some struggles that have somewhat been out of his control, and for the most part, that has been the case. So I think I like the idea of guys just thinking around the problem, trying to find new ways to attack at 100 laps here, knowing what you have your tires, you have your fuel. Okay, how can I make them last in a different way? So I don't mind the call by Nick, but going back to 25th there, that's dangerous, Chris. We've seen even in the first 2 races, but just historically in the Bandit Racing League, as we see the 0-0 of Jackson knocking the timing tower, now out for the race. He's 5th in points coming into tonight. But yeah, we've seen historically it's these like mid-pack battles that, you know, guys that are quick get stuck in, and then a crash happens, and suddenly there's your night done. So it could be the case for Nick. We're not sure yet.
Yeah, it certainly could be. Getting that deep back in the pack is a little dangerous, but I also want to keep an eye on how fast he gets through this pack. Those new tires are definitely going to make a difference at this point. So I'm just curious to see how much faster he is on those tires, and I know everybody else is going to be paying attention to that as well.
A couple drivers still in the pits here after that. Well, actually, not that last incident. They're just coming in for service. Jay Rome in the 81 car just leaving the pits now, and Alec Daffin, again, our biggest mover prior to that last caution, is back in the pits and is no longer our biggest mover. He now drops back to 32nd. So still 36 cars in the field, with Jackson knocking the 0-0, leaving as our first casualty here for tonight's race. And there we go. We're doubled up, stacked up, ready to go. Coming off turn number 4, it is the 04 car in control of the field once again, alongside Sean Britt there on the front row with the 85 car ready in the catbird seat, ready to give that 04 car a big push. Green flag comes out here at Rockingham the first time off a restart. Lap number 18 commences, and here we go. Turn number 1, the 85 car, great run on the inside line. He is clear, and Christopher Hamilton going to try to go with him for 3rd.
Yeah, Brett's not going to have the benefit of getting a big lead right away. I hear some cars bouncing off each other, and we get a caution.
We do indeed, yeah. It's why we say cautions breed cautions in this series. We know we say it a lot, and we know it's one of the most ever-present things in racing. But, oh my goodness, the 2 car is damaged to that back corner panel. What did we just say here, Chris? Sometimes our jinxes are negative, and sometimes they are absolutely spot on. So if Nick got caught in this crash, we go to the Butt Kicker Racing replay to see if he did. But if he did, we are geniuses up here.
I think so. I think I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket.
He absolutely did. Got creamed in the back by the 4 of Trey Ellis there in the aftermath of another incident that also featured the 09 of Jacob Elkins. And I believe that was the 32 car of Terry Condis. So didn't get a great angle there. We'll go see what Peter Murphy was looking at there, the 38 car, as he came off of turn number 2. Oh, it was Hunter Henry who just gets wide to the outside wall and absolutely careens into another car there. And it was just Peter Murphy trying to avoid, stay out of the line of the crashing cars that unfortunately got caught in that. So we'll go one more time back to Hunter Henry's perspective. This was Hunter Henry coming off of turn number 2, just widen the outside wall, catches Condis, who was the one with the big spin, then the 09, then the 2 of Nickerson. So second caution, Ashley Liley's on the background there, the 45 car, narrowly avoiding. So back down pit road goes the 2, same with the 09 and the 84 car, David Lakey joining him on pit road there. So yeah, we just said it, Chris. I think if you're a fast car tonight, you want to stay up front. You want to go off strategy. I don't know how to put this, but I think often you want to try to make the strategy calls on tires that aren't popular, where you'll have a lot of people going with you, and you might even be able to cycle back out after taking a pit service, if not in, then near the top 10. Because if you start too far back, you try to be too different, and only 5 or 6 guys go with you, well, then you're in the minority there, and you're going to have some issues, because starting that far back, especially at a short track, it's not easy. Worst case scenario, you get lapped. Best case scenario, you take a long time to get through the field.
Yeah, I think we got to dial up some of these guys and let them know we're not in Vegas anymore. So the gambles aren't going to work all night long. But yes, you don't want to get caught out in that situation. I don't know if the main priority under that first pit stop was to repair some damage that he may have had there, but definitely has damage now. I don't know if he used his fast repair. I don't think he did. It didn't look like he had a lot of damage. He's shown a lot of pace before that. So your guy second in points is now he's in a little bit of a hole here. Let's see if he can rebound. I mean, he's a double champion of the league, and I don't see why he couldn't do it. But he's not having the characteristic Nick Nickerson start to this season as we've seen in the past. I know he's going to get back to victory lane, and he'll probably start knocking them off one after the other after that. But yeah, this is a weird sight to see so far to this point in the season.
Well, speaking of to this point in the season and what we got looking in the series going forward, here is the Bandit Racing League Season 11 schedule. And again, Daytona International Speedway has already gone by. Same with Las Vegas, and today at Rockingham, our third race here of season number 11 at the start of March. So the rest of the month, let's look through it. We got Sonoma next week going to the road course here, one of my favorites on the NASCAR calendar. We got that. Typically Watkins Glen Common, but we're not running it this season, so it'll just be just Sonoma, Road America, and the Roval. Roval might genuinely be my favorite track, not just in NASCAR, but in racing. It's going to be a fun set of road courses this year, but just the one here in March on the 8th at Sonoma. Then we got Kansas on the 15th, then over to Dover on the 29th. We got that 1 week break, so on March 22nd, feel free to be up to whatever you'd please. You got a free week off there from joining us in the Bandit Racing League, but be back for Dover because that's a track a lot of drivers love, and particularly I think it's Benjamin Lacey and Ricky Hart that always talk about that being one of their favorites. So if you're a fan of one of those drivers, might be a good month to tune in, especially later in the month of March. But for the time being, we are still here at Rockingham, and we still have 77 laps of really, really great racing to go here. Once we catch the green flag this time, lights in the pace car are off, and it's going to be the 04 car alongside. There he is, folks. Cody Welch. He's worked his way up from 10th all the way to 2nd. He's been a common fixture, and that car has shown some pace. Then the 15 and the 51. It's flipped numbers there on row number 2. Then the 98 and the 86 of Paul Wilson make up row number 3. Here we go, Chris. I'm going to give this one to you on the call for the start of our third restart of the race.
Yeah, as the pit car's going to come down pit road here, we see the 04 car. He's been starting really late on these restarts. Now, if I was another driver, I'd be taking note of that. He's waiting. Here we go. Really good restart on the bottom there. I think that the bottom's going to be the place you want to restart all night long. But 85 car is holding up real strong here. I think he's going to have a run coming out of turn 2. As he gets right to the back bumper of the 04 car.
Great run there off of turn number 2. Yeah, that's the first time all night we've seen the car on the outside line on the front row actually get into second place. In the first 2 restarts, it was the car in third that used that ideal inside line to make the move up into second. So great job by Cody to not let that outside line give him a problem. We're seeing all sorts of... Oh, there's a crash. I was going to say, I'm seeing plenty of passes happening on my telemetry there, but not actual good racing here. I just kept seeing red popping up as a crash began to start. So who did we see? I think it was the 98. I think Sean Britt, who we just talked about, was currently at the time in 5th there on that restart, the 98 car involved. So this must have happened decently far up through the pack. Let's see what brought out caution number 3. And I'm hoping this is going to be just kind of a stage we have at the beginning and kind of a phase of cautions that we get out of. That's the last caution. So props to those of you here on the Butt Kicker Racing replay that recognize that was an old wreck that we are showing on screen. We're going to go back to the new wreck. Here we go. We got Jacob Elkins there in the 09 car. Already had damage we're seeing at the time of this wreck. So he caught up to something else that was starting in front of him, but I guess took the cardinal damage here. So this was off the final corner. And I'm going to go back specifically to Sean Britt here because he was, again, further up the field. He was 5th there on that restart and off of turn number 3. Just gets involved in something here. So here we go. We'll start it all the way back here. Actually, Britt was significant damage prior. I didn't even realize that. So that's why he initially dropped back. I'm going to guess this had something to do with the big stack up that led to this wreck. But we go 3 wide there momentarily on the backstretch before the 98 car pulls off and into the corner. We're waiting. Kind of happens up ahead, and then he piles into it later. So there we go. Alec Daffin gets caught with I think the 38 car, Peter Murphy, his second incident of the race. The 44, the 54. Everybody just piles in here. That was like a pool party at the end where everybody jumps in the pool. Like, well, for your topical reference of the day, like the ending scene to High School Musical 2, one of the great all-time films of my generation. So there you go. There's the reference to that. But one more time, we'll watch Jacob Elkins and look in front of him to see the big pile-up wreck in turn number 3 that brings out our third wreck of the day. You know, I think, Chris, we need to just hire Evan specifically for these broadcasts. Just sit in the background, just wait, and just rattle off his catchphrases. Because cautions breed cautions, and he turned them both would have come in very good handy tonight. Maybe we can get a soundboard or something like that going for next week at Sonoma.
Yeah, I think you should. We should make a drinking game where you drink water only, obviously.
Yeah.
But to cautions breed cautions tonight, because that is going to be the phrase of the night. But that was a scary. That kind of looked like shades of Bristol. Just everybody the track just kept throwing cars back into the racing surface there and just piling people in. And actually, as the leaders were coming back around with the pace car, they almost got put into that themselves because the guys couldn't clear the track in time. But we've had a couple of retirees from that wreck. It looks like J-Room, Dawson Guzik, and Hunter Henry have all retired their cars for tonight. So tough break for them. Probably use their fast repairs already. So not much you can really do limping around this track. You're just going to be a brick wall to these cars that are going to be coming around at full speed. So tough break for them. They'll bounce back next week. But this is turning very quickly into a very chaotic race as we're over a quarter of the way done. So we've seen the 04 car leading much of this race, but now he's having pressure from the 85. Your pick is, I'm going to say it like this. Your pick is not looking good tonight. He's not. I don't think he has any chance. He's going to blow it. Something's going to happen. And a virtual tire is going to explode. I don't know. But, yeah, he's not looking very good tonight. Not promising at all.
Not at all. No, the same way that, again, here on the broadcast, we do encourage you only drink non-alcoholic beverages. We also encourage that you don't believe in Cody Welch tonight because inevitably one of the most talented drivers in the field, especially at Rockingham, no chance, as always, here at our one of our favorite tracks here at Rockingham. So, again, here's the onboard from Cody Welch's perspective. We'll go inside the sim setup of the 85 car. Again, one of the coolest sim setups in the entire series. Got the triple monitors, got the really cool chair, got, again, one of the better rigs overall in the series, and I respect a man that, like myself, races it with, I believe, a Logitech G29 there. So I love the setup, and if you want to talk about guys that Rockingham would just be a fitting race to win at, that is one of them. But again, as we always do up here on the broadcast, at least the last few weeks, no chance. Have no confidence in Cody Welch because that's how he's going to win. On that bombshell, the pace car off into pit road, takes the left-hander, and once again, the field back in control of Brett Guzik, and he was really good on the last restart, but the 85 car was able to hold off second. Can he do it again? Curtis Yancey up the inside line, the 51 in the 85. I think Welch should get the better run off of turn 2, but a great jump nonetheless for Brett Guzik.
Yeah, the 51 car is going to have something to say about this soon. This is a track that really suits him, I believe, so I'm looking for him to make some noise tonight, but both of our picks starting to make their way towards the front here. I'm hoping that we didn't jinx either one of them this week. We've been historically doing that for the past several weeks, if you're including last season. So, both of our drivers looking real strong tonight.
Looking back at the field a little bit here, one of these mid-pack battles. Remember, Nick Nickerson does not have another quick repair. That 2-car driving with significant front bumper damage and is still finding a way to make good time here. This is crazy, seeing how well he's defending some of these guys up at kind of mid-pack area. I do want to mention very quickly, now your furthest mover of the race, up 19 spots, up into 15th, Tyler Rowland. That's a name I haven't seen in the series in a while. I don't remember, Chris, if you'd even commentated yet in this series by the last time we saw Tyler, but the 18 car used to drive.
Yeah, getting after it. And to speak on Tyler there, yeah, I didn't commentate when he was racing with us last, but yeah, he's a very exciting driver. He reminds me a lot of Curtis. Very aggressive with his moves, but he makes it work for himself. So you can't knock the guy if he's being aggressive and he makes it work. So really excited to have him back and see what he can do tonight.
Do want to also mention, as far as the biggest risers, also up 19 spots is Benny Hogan as a caution once again coming out. Zach Hillman, the 3-car, spinning around like a top off of, once again, our favorite turn number 4, as he and Mark Allen Bivens going to get into each other. The 76 car doing a little flick turn, trying to get it turned back around. So here we go, Mark Allen Bivens and Zach Hillman. We'll see what brought out caution number 4. There's the 76 car getting a little bit of a spat with the 45 of Ashley Lyle. Tyler Rowland, who we were just talking about, then gets involved with the 76, who's off pace on the high side. Then it's Zach Hillman that finally just runs into him and cleans his clock out again. Only so much you can do at a track like Rockingham, small racetrack, relatively thin. So not surprised to see a couple guys get involved here, as here we go. First time all day here, Chris. Down pit road come our leaders, and Brett Guzik will lead the pack. Let's see what he can do as far as a pit stop here, and Cody Welch coming in second. We haven't seen a pass for the lead on pit road in a bit this season. could this be the day?
We're going to see how good these guys getting out of their box. This is a tricky pit road. The stalls are a little smaller, and it's just a tricky place all the way around. As we saw him slide into his box there, but it's going to be 4 tires and fuel probably for all these guys. I mean, this is a good point in the race to kind of get your service. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting to see. I want to see if anybody stayed out here as it cycles through on the timing here in a minute. But yeah, if there's some guys on older rubber, that's going to make things interesting.
Race on pit road, you saw instead of the, as I kind of suggested, the 85 car, instead of moving up, he actually got passed by the 51. So Curtis Yancey going to come out on pit road second, going to win the battle there. But Brett Guzik does indeed hold on to the top spot, followed by Christopher Hamilton, then Paul Wilson, Benjamin Lacey, and Mike Wright, your top 8 off of pit road. So going back to the actual lead of the race, the guys who didn't pit here, it is Ricky Hart Jr. going to lead his first lap of the season. That number 1 car for GFR Racing. Quiet start so far, but the Sueno Daihatsu number 1 car was quick here at Rockingham a few years ago, and I think this is, I would say, Chris, relatively a track Ricky could be good at. You know, he's good at Dover, he's good at the short tracks with the high bankings, and really tough as far as holding it off the outside wall, similar to Dover. I think this could be a track he thrives at, and obviously off strategy, as we were suggesting, he has pitted to this point, so I don't know, maybe it could be a dark horse early on. It's crazy to say that about a former champion, but maybe a dark horse for tonight's race. Mr. Ricky Hart actually hasn't pitted so far, so that's a bold call there, Chris.
That is certainly bold if that statistic is true, but do note that the last time Ricky did win a championship, it was in the now Gen 6 NASCAR Cup car. So this car does suit him. I'm surprised at a little bit of his slow start, but he had a little trouble last week. He almost had some trouble earlier in the race, but he's clearly rebounded from that pretty well. So see if Ricky can put it all together tonight.
Well, I kind of alluded to a little bit earlier, we were going to do a bit of throwback to the last time we came here at Rockingham in the Bandit Racing League back in Season 8. So here you go. Here's a bit of a throwback to all the way to, well, this is May 5th, 2021. So you look back, and it was Cody Welch, that last win for the 85 car in the Bandit Racing League. You saw him holding off Nick there in the previous shot, and here he is coming to the line. The two guys on Skype battling it out, and it would be Cody, a huge smile on his face as he would come across, and there's a good-looking man on the left side. Man, I looked considerably different, I'd say, 2 years ago. Don't have that sweet mustache we're growing out now. So, bit of a throwback there for you, back to the old days where we had this actually really cool-looking graphic here for the post-race interviews, but not the best Skype background. What are you doing there, COVID Marshall? Let's work on that in the future. So, yeah, Cody Welch, it's fun to see just over 2 years how much the whole series has changed. Obviously, different channel here, different broadcasters, and Cody Welch, I think, just as good of a driver, if not even better with his recent experience. It's gonna take something special here to beat all of the great talent we have in this series. And look no further for that talent than the front row of Ricky Hart Jr. and Ashley Lyle. And now, Chris, the first time we've seen somebody starting on the outside row by choice. Let's see if Ricky Hart's decision pays off here.
Yeah, let's see what he's got. Brett's been going really late in this restart zone. I want to see if Ricky does something different, but it could pay off for him. He would be able to really arc the corner if he can get clear of that 45 car.
Here we go. Great jump by the 1 car. He is clear. The 8 car on the outside of Kevin Foster. Going to try to get by Lyle here in second position, and it's Alec Daffin settling in fourth, just ahead of Curtis Yancey. The first driver on those set fresh tires gets by Brett Guzik, so it didn't happen for the race lead, but Brett has been topped, and it has been by the 51 car. Great on these short runs.
Yeah, the 51 car is going to really use the momentum on this high side here. He's going to have a great run at this 8 car going into turn 1.
For Hamilton on the outside line there. He did not take tires in that last pit segment, so Cody Welch going to go by him. Again, Brett Guzik there settling in 6th position. And the fourth position going to 51 of Curtis Yancey, who almost got a crossover there off turn 2 on Kevin Foster. Looks like he peaked up to the high side, but shut the door to the 8 car. Again, former 2-time champion of the Bandit Racing League. He knows how to defend up there with the best of them. Whoa, Kurt turn though. He gets turned by the 51 of Yancey. Is he going to go around? Curtis, or the caution comes out. Curtis does get him. And there we go. Once again, the perfect jinx, calling that moment on turn 2 where it looked like Curtis almost clipped him as they swapped lines there off the exit of the corner. That time he did get him, and it was the 51 car getting into the 8 car of Kevin Foster. Again, cautions breeding cautions. And we go back to the Butt Kicker Racing replay there as Kevin Foster, who was doing such a solid job there that first lap, holding them off, now finds himself looking the wrong way.
Yeah, that's a tough break for him. I don't know if that was netcode or what there, but the 51 had a really great run coming out of the corner there on those tires, and it just ran out of room. I don't know if the one had to check up because he was getting a little tight on those older tires or what. But yeah, it's a tough break for the 8. Just barely gets in the back of him, puts him in the wall, and the rest is history.
Yeah, definitely got him. There's no doubt about that. I mean, netcode can often play a role in these things, but no, he just clipped in there, unfortunately. So it's always up in the air. Guys will argue whether that was the guy in front being too slow off the exit or if that was the 51. I usually say it's got to be the guy on offense. Has to be careful about these things, but Curtis was flying. We saw that 51 car obviously had some real pace, so you can obviously imagine he was itching to get by these guys, especially having passed Brett Guzik. You just want to break away and build up that cushion. So now Ricky Hart Jr. is going to come into and out of pit road. The Sueno Daihatsu number 1 car actually slowing up there for a moment. Not sure what happened there, but he now heads out and will rejoin in 19th on fresher tires in the field by about 6 laps and 26 laps to Ashley Lyle, who pitted last back on lap number 15. So with that, we're going to go to our first in-car interview of the race and of the season at this point. Let's see if he's available here. Mr. Brett Guzik, who now starts in the 4th position. We'll see if he's available. If not, we will jump away and maybe try to find somebody else here. Hey, Brett, it is Marshall and Chris up in the broadcast booth. Get a copy?
Yeah, I've got you guys.
Hey, Brett. Well, boy, has it been a race so far. Obviously, a couple cautions here in the last couple laps. Not what we want to see, or I'm sure you faster guys out there want to see to get some good battling in. But you just got passed there by Curtis Yancey for the first time all race, and what has been a dominant performance by that 04 car. How has the stakes kind of changed here with all these cautions and some lap cars and guys in different strategies moving into the equation? Do you still feel as confident as you did back when you were out front?
I feel confident. It's just it's going to be about circumstance here, and someone takes advantage of your track position or takes advantage of you out here, you're gonna get mad. You just gotta stay the pace and make sure you're trying to get to the front in the most efficient way without get caught up in something.
I think the best kind of scale to evaluate any racetrack is on, does it require patience or does it require pace? So on that scale today, Rockingham, a track that, as we were just talking about with Chris, can be really tough holding off the outside line. It's tough on tires. Are you taking a more patient approach to the race, trying to conserve your stuff, or are you looking to run good lap times, prioritizing that over your lap by lap conservation?
Trying to maintain my patience here. It gets a little bit tested here, especially when I have all these cautions, but if I can get up here at the front, I have the pace to be able to, break away from some people. It's just whether or not it's possible with a caution on every restart. But looks like we're going to go 1 to go here.
We are indeed. We'll let you go back here. Thanks for Brett for talking to us, and best of luck to you.
Yep, thanks, guys.
There you go. Always a pleasure to talk to Mr. Brett Guzik in the 04 car here. And again, he will roll off in the 2nd row, just behind your 2 leaders of Ashley Lyle and Curtis Yancey. So again, Ashley going to choose that high side. Chris, we're starting to see this being common. I don't know if I like it based on what we saw there from Cody and what he was able to do from the outside relative to the other guys. And Brett just dominant on that inside line earlier. But could be a case, maybe old tires, people not confident they can hold it on the inside line next to somebody else. Not sure what you think the decision is here.
It definitely could be that, as we see the pace car come down pit road here. We'll see what she can do here, but it could just be there. She feels as though there's more grip up there. She gets a good start here. The element of surprise is really getting everybody off guard here, but she's going to have the ability to kind of put it where she wants and go where she's comfortable rather than just being hindered to whatever lane that the other car is giving you. But
whoa,
04 car looking like a shot out of a rocket right now.
I think part of that is the 51 car wicked loose there through 1 and 2. He was the back end wiggling all the way around the exit of the corner. So as we see Alec Daffin here, last pitted on that lap number 26, so off strategy. He's going to go to battle here with these guys. Up front, though, Ashley Lyle, my goodness, get ready to be under attack here as Brett Guzik, again, running 20-lap fresher tires. He's going to have the pace advantage. And right now, he's about to send it in here on the inside line. The 04 car, you just talked about patience here in the interview. We'll see how much patience he has there to get by and try to start making that gap work. Remember, he had 2 seconds gap as Curtis Yancey is around. One of your race leaders doesn't catch anybody yet. Finally, we get a chance to catch up to him with the camera. 51 car just, again, I was talking about wicked loose there. Maybe had a little bit of leftover lingering damage. He spins it off a 3, and we do bring out our 6th caution today. I actually thought for a minute there we wouldn't get one as the Clearwater, Florida native got relatively right off the racetrack, right off the bat, but no, there's caution number 3 there for you, Chris, and just, that's weird to see. Loose for a race car that hasn't pitted in, 11 laps, so shouldn't be particularly cold tires. Doesn't seem like much damage, so Not sure what you chalk that up to as we go back to the butt kicker racing replay.
Yeah, I think that he was just pushing there. I think he knows he's on fresh tires and he's trying to stay with the 04 car to stay in the contention of this virtual battle for the lead. I know the 45 car is leading this thing right now, but everybody knows that she has to pit. So that's just pushing, and this track is going to push back. So I do love what Brett said there. Patience. You know, these guys are going to start losing their patience, and that's what that leads to, is mistakes like that.
Just want to point out the cool custom badge plate he's got there on the inside. Does Curtis Yancey on the inside of that 51 car with the cool CY logo there on his dash. Random thing, but cool thing I don't think I've seen before. I didn't know you could customize that. So with that, we're going to go back to the guys just pitting here. Trey Ellis here, again, significant damage to that 4 car. One of those guys that I think has run out of quick repairs here, as we also see a little bit of damage on Kevin Foster's 8 car left over from earlier, Jason Greenwell, and of course Curtis Yancey as he comes in here after that spin that brought out caution number 6. So back to the front once again. Ashley Lyle going to stay out here. Last pit lap was 15. What are you guessing on a tank and fuel here, Chris? My pre-race estimate was about 40 to 45. I think this race was going to be a pretty safe 2-stopper. I think it still is. Anybody that's pitted so far going to have to make one more stop. But the Virginia Beach native trying to go really different with the strategy, but she was fast there on the restart. So maybe going to be merit to that strategy. We'll find out.
Yeah, you know, I was actually about to just say this if we stayed green there. I was surprised that she was putting up as much of a battle as she was with Brett, knowing how much fresher tires that she's on. She could put herself in a bad position where she just knows Brett is so much faster. He's going to be able to drive it in so much deeper that, you know, you could take both of them out of the race just with one corner. So you would typically not put up that big of a fight, but then I thought, it's Ashley. She's going to make everything hard on everybody, and I say that in the nicest way possible because she is such a competitor. So, yeah, we're going to see what she's got here. I know she just said over the radio that she's going to pick the top here, so she's going with the top again. We'll see how that benefits her, and that should put the 85 car behind her, I would believe. So, yeah, I do like the call. If this plays out this way, she should be able to pit here probably the next 10 to 15 laps and have pretty much the flip side of the tire situation here, unless she drags everybody down pit road with her. So we'll see how that all works out for her.
Just looking through the field here, looking at some other guys in the top 10. We see Christopher Hamilton here, the Tempe, Arizona native. You see, obviously, that iconic googly eye headset he's got there in the VR system that he races with. So he's currently sitting back there in 8th for GFR Racing, his teammate right behind the 2 car of Nick Nickerson. Still, I believe, no, he's actually cleared that front nose damage. So, Chris, one of the best in the series, Nick Nickerson, has taken his final quick repair. That could be huge. We see another wreck for that car tonight. His night here could be over, and just like we saw with Benjamin Lacey and Brett Guzik not being able to finish the races last week, this could be a weird start to the year for some of these top guys who were expecting to just rack up points and so far haven't quite had the opportunity. Very quickly here, we're going to shout out the, as we always do here, Bandit Racing League website as we're getting ready to go back to green here, but just a quick scroll through on as well. Geezer Authentics. Geezer Authentics, of course, your source for all things Bandit Racing League merch. All purchases go towards the Driver Points Fund, which rewards drivers in our very own series depending on their end of season finishing positions. So Geezer Authentics, as always, the link in the description below. If you want to get some merch for specific drivers, like a David Lakey, like a Cody Welch, like a Christopher Hamilton, or a Nick Nickerson, any of those drivers and more, that's where you go check it out. Or our BRL sweaters and t-shirts and clothing with the new updated logo coming soon. As always, go check out GeezerAuthentics.com in the description below to get yourself some awesome Bandit Racing League stuff and support the league as Ashley Lyle, massive run once again off into turn number 1, I should say, as the battle heats up for third, the 85 and the 86, side by side here through 1 and 2.
Yeah, great start from her again. I mean, the top's really working her benefit. I think it's really, like I was saying earlier, as the 04 car really sends it in there. Wow. But, yeah, she's able to really use the element of surprise. 04 car is wanting to get back to the point here very quickly, as he's going to look to the inside. Really close there.
Oh, contact a little bit by the 04, the 45. No room to breathe. The 04 car wicked loose again. Similar to Curtis Yancey right before his spin. And turn number 2, but he gets it to stick. The 04 car going to slide up in front. That was almost a slide job there. The 45 car giving a bit of a love tap there. As here comes Paul Wilson. 86 car is going to capitalize on this battle, and going to 48 as well. Alec Daffin up 20 spots from the start of the race. He is now in the equation for certain, and so is the 85 car. We got 2 rows. This looks like a sped up warm-up lap here, as everybody now getting in the line, and the 04 car back to where he belongs up at the front of the field based on the pace he's had tonight.
Yeah, that was kind of, as we get a caution, I'll hold my thoughts.
We do indeed. It was Bill Harkins there further back in the pack. The 12 car is not looking the right way, I must say, but now gets it back going forward. I think he should be able to keep it straight. Looks like the steering's kind of kinked on him there, but he should be okay. Let's see what brought out caution number 7 very quickly. Can go back here. He and Matt Crocker there, the Busy Beaver number 12 car. That's the 54 of Hayden Paul. It got loose. Didn't make contact with the 54, but the 12 just, again, that turn 2 has been the problem for everybody tonight. Unfortunately, it was what gave Bill Harkins some trouble, though he did get it whipped around pretty quick. So not bad there by the series founder. But there you go, Chris. Just like that, we all that great racing, all that crazy progress settles down again, and this is why I think being up at the front here, if you're Brett Guzik, it's annoying to have to run laps under yellow and all the anticipation builds and all the stress of being the leader. But the more laps you run under yellow, the less laps he has to defend under green.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it's frustrating when you're anywhere but P1. I'll say it just like that. I will say that under this yellow, the 45 car displayed her displeasure with the 04 car there, doing the, kind of driving up to the door saying, hey, what are we doing here? But I think, at the end of the day, it's to be expected here. The 04 car was on much fresher tires, and she knew that he was going to stick it in there eventually. So, it's one of those things, but she now knows that she is in conservation mode. For this strategy to work for her, she has to try to maintain, I would say, somewhere in the top 10. Everybody behind her is on a lot fresher tires, and she needs just a couple more green flag laps, and this strategy will play out in her favor where she'll be able to pit in the top 10, maintain that track position, and be on the same strategy as everybody else. So if I was her, just take a deep breath. We still have a lot of racing to go. We're just over halfway, and let's keep after this thing. But really strong performance out of her on these much older tires.
Now, Chris, I've already had one this race. I'm going to make another old-timey 2000s reference. I don't know, Chris, did you ever play the old EA Sports NASCAR video games like NASCAR Thunder and specifically NASCAR 05 Chase for the Cup?
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. So NASCAR, back in those games, for those of you that don't know, there was a system, basically the Nemesis sort of system, but the Intimidator system as well. You can call it whatever you want. But basically, when you had an incident with a driver on track, you would become their rival, and they would act differently. They'd run into you on track, and they'd drive you, quite a bit harder. And when it did so, they'd have like a red bubble above their head that had their car number on it, and that's how you knew they were one of your rivals. I would say pretty solidly, Brett's move just there put a red bubble above his car in the eyes of Ashley Lyle. I think it's little moves like that maybe don't directly result in harm or issue, especially because Brett's got the spot now. But guys start racing you different there, Chris. So if Chris, if Brett wants to start, winning these races with even less, sort of. Oh, I don't know what even word you'd use for it, but a little bit less trouble there up front. You may want to play some NASCAR 04 or 05 or 06, the Superior game, Total Team Control. Great game. If you own a PS2 or a GameCube or an Xbox, go play that. But that's my comparison of the day. Maybe we'll do an old-timey racing game reference as well. Next week, tune in. It'll be Grid 2 for the DS. Another classic there. But, the 45 car, I think... I think you're absolutely right. If she can get to the inside here, I don't think it's likely on here on the restart, but if Ashley Lyle can send it in underneath, I think she's going to do the exact same thing. Just not door him. Well, maybe door him, but certainly get really, really close there. You'll see rub and paint here, I'm certain, any moment.
Yeah, what goes around comes around, and I know that she's going to remember that number for the rest of the race. I don't know if I think in that game that you're referring to, if you had a rival over 60, that's when they would actively try to you. But I think she's at a 59 right now.
Oh, darn close.
We're pretty close, but yeah, we'll have to see. Brett's gonna have to share draft with her to get that ally back. So
exactly. Use the A button there, Brett. Use the A button. Yeah, I think if Brett even sneezes in the race chat right now, that'll be enough to push it over to 60. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's hope he keeps that mic muted. But here we go. The 04 car, the 45 car, the front row. Paul Wilson and Alec Daffin in second row. And the 85 and the 7. That's a quick third row here. But here we go. Lyle a little bit loose on the restart, but not terrible, actually. Not a huge jump by the 04 car. How much traction does the 45 car here have on much older tires? 20 laps older, in fact. Goes a lot wider here in turn number 2. And once again, Paul Wilson really fast here on these opening laps. The 86 car challenging here for second. I just heard a wreck further back. Yes, we did. James Hartley has gone around. There's caution number 8.
Boy, oh boy. Where's Evan Wall when you need him?
Where is Evan Wall? Evan Wall, if you're here watching the broadcast booth, I know he's insanely busy with all sorts of broadcast commitments here at Alabama, or over at Alabama, not here at Alabama. I live about as far from Alabama as is humanly possible on the continent. But yeah, he's been very busy recently. So if he's here, feel free to throw in your usual catchphrase because it is fitting. But here we go. Back to the Butt Kicker Racing replay. As always, you guys know the deal. James Hartley and David Lakey look like the two principal cars involved in this wreck. Here's the 6 car up on the high side. Here comes the off the outside wall here in 2. There is the 84 car, I should say, of Lakey. Piles into him and slams that inside wall. I think if there was a way to remove turn 2 here, Chris, we'd have 1, maybe 2 cautions to this point.
You know, I think that turn 2 is at this track is one of the trickiest that we have outside of like a Darlington or something like that. But the wall seems to just jump out at you, and you can never judge it really. I mean, some of the guys that have really turned a lot of laps here, they have a good sense of judging it. But it's so tough because you really want to push it. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna get really close, but I'm gonna make it. And then all of a sudden, you're in the fence. And once you're in the fence, that's it. See you later. So yeah, it's a tough beast to tame. I know that's Darlington's catchphrase there, but yeah, I mean, I can hear it in the race chat as I have it going on in the background. Nobody's making friends tonight. I can tell you that. And we're going into Sonoma next week. Should be a little bit more spread out. But I think that's for the better for these guys and girls after a race like this.
I think you're absolutely right. Well, Chris, if you were hosting a league, put yourself in your shoes, and this is actually fitting because you've done race control for leagues I've hosted in the past, and this is fitting. But if you were going to host a league and you needed race control services for a race that has 7 or 8 wrecks, how would you do so? Well, a great way to do so is 24/7 Sim Services, the sponsor of tonight's race. Great segue there, I gotta say. 24/7 Sim Services, your place to go for all things race control. If you are hosting a race or one individual race or a league or a series, they are who you want to reach out to, as well as broadcasting rights. So you can have your entire race, your whole thing get hosted. And basically everything we hear have here on the Bandit Racing League. We have race control, our awesome race control team that works each and every race that I think we need to get an interview going one of these weeks. We need to give them a shout out. But their names are, as always, I'll bring them up here just to give them a quick shout out, but it is Nicole Kressel and Jonathan Hancock, our 2 race control experts up here in the broadcast. But if you want your own race control for your own sim racing event, go to 24/7 Sim Services for everything related to that, as well as broadcasting. So if you don't want to have full send, schedule your event, and I gotta say we are very busy, so they may definitely be the place to go. Go check out their Facebook or their website in the description down below, and thank you as always to 24/7 Sim Services for sponsoring our race tonight at Rockingham. I think it was a fairly good segue. I got to say, I want to start segueing these.
Phenomenal.
I got to start segueing these sponsors in a little bit more. I feel like we're just like, I don't know. Some weeks we're like, hey, here's some great racing, great product. We're gonna take a moment to talk about Bill's Ginger Ale. It's like, well, this doesn't happen.
You very rarely put me on the spot, and I was nervous there, but I was like, wow, that was really good. You made me very surprised there. Good job.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and thank you as always, Chris, for back in the old Snowstorm days. Was that was Snowstorm, right? That you used to do race control for?
Yeah, that was a great time. I mean, I hope you get back to that and broadcasting that, because that is a fun thing that you get going there. Some of our Bandit Racing guys are in that, so yeah, that is a good time. But yeah, anytime.
I gotta say, the only thing busier than my weeknights that are not Wednesdays is my winter. So unfortunately, that Snowstorm series that was pretty brief this year, that was originally hosted here on Full Send Racing Network, a series I put together for open wheel road course racing. It's maybe gonna take on a different form, or it's gonna take some scheduling on my part. We may see it back this year. I certainly hope so. Back to the usual broadcast sensibilities. So any driver watching this, you want to join an open wheel racing series, maybe check it out for this coming winter. But for now, we're back to racing here, folks. We got Brett Guzik, we got Ashley Lyle on the front row, and there's the start the 04 car is looking for, and not the one Benjamin Lacey was looking for. As he checks up, we are going to have a huge bottleneck at turn number 1. Here goes Daffin. He's around, catches Welch, but catches the 15 car even more. That's number 9, and if you are drinking anything but a non-alcoholic beverage tonight in our caution drinking game, oh boy, you're going to have some problems.
Yeah, you certainly are, because we're just getting started. I mean, this is a little bit wild. I knew as soon as I saw that 48 car go to the bottom there, that was never going to work. That's just a tough position to be in. As much as you want to go 3 wide here, you really can't, and that's just like Brett was talking about earlier. Patience, man. People are losing their patience. They want to get up to the front. They know that they're fast. They know they can run up here with these guys and girls. But yeah, it's a tough one. You want to go. There's nowhere to go.
A little bit of hood damage there for the 85 car. I was curious. He half-tagged Daffin as he came back up the track. We're going to go on board here, actually, with the 85 car of Cody Welch. But a little bit of front nose damage. I mean, Chris, a little bit of cosmetic damage. How much difference do you think that makes? And do you think it's worth it at this point in the race? Is it a risk with still 36 laps to go, taking that quick repair, using it now?
I mean, at a track like this, if my wheel's straight at this point in the race, I'm gonna send her. We're gonna stay out on track. We're gonna see what we got. If you're up front, why not? I mean, you're gonna get probably a couple more cautions here, as we've seen. And thank you for Evan Wall Media putting in the chat. Cautions do breed cautions. So thank you for the slogan of the night, and hopefully that water's treating you well. But yeah, if I got a little bit of damage, I don't know about that 15 car. That net code sent him a little crazy there, but yeah, a little bit of damage here shouldn't do you any trouble.
It's always great having Evan Wall back. We also have Brandon Jackson here joining us in the broadcast booth, so everybody's here. We got the old gang back together, and Dawson Guzik as well after his unfortunately early exit from the race has also joined us back up here in the broadcast comment section. So as always, our weekly viewers, we apologize for this one. Obviously 9 cautions, not what we were hoping for, maybe what some were expecting with our practice, but we talked about it. It's one of the toughest tracks on the calendar. It's one that definitely it can only go so well, I think, being a more chaotic race, but we're going to get a great finish. We always get those here in the Bandit Racing League, and I think, again, if this is your first Bandit Racing League race or you've just started watching with us for season number 11, this is going to be the exception for sure rather than the rule. So, you know, that I think it's going to make a fun finish. I mean, these caution-filled races always do, but in the short term, it is unfortunate. It does mean that we get a little bit of extra time. First of all, we're going to use that time again to talk about what I meant to plug earlier, and I hope this is the right video. No, we somehow have the videos switched around here. I don't know how that has happened. Actually, no, we don't. We just have the wrong video altogether. So just a quick moment here as I go to the other, more proper video. There we go. Now we got the right video, and there is the Bandit Racing League website on banditracingleague.com. If you want to go check out anything, and I mean literally anything, related to the Bandit Racing League series, this is where you want to go. First of all, you saw our Sim Racer Hub link there with the full points. We're only 2 races in. We don't have a full graphic here yet, so we're going to hold off on the official point standings into next week, but when we get our post-race results, we'll show them out and talk to you a little bit about the updated points. But the BanditRacingLeague.com website, first of all, gives you a countdown to our next race. It talks about our sponsors weekly. It gives you some throwbacks to if you're curious about Season 10, Season 9, Season 8. You want to learn about the past of the series, that's a great place to go. It's got a great link to all our sponsors, like Apex Sim Racing, like Moser Racing, everything you want to check out as far as some great sim racing actual, physical accessories. That's a great place to go for that. And yeah, just everything related to our drivers. Get some info on some drivers, and as well as the link to our GeezerAuthentics.com merch site. Everything is there. So that's the place to go. BanditRacingLeague.com, as always, we want to shout them out. And again, we also want to shout out 24/7 Sim Services, our sponsor of tonight's race at Rockingham. We also want to shout out Moser Racing, one more here, as we talk a lot about Apex Sim Racing as far as your sim racing gear. But Moser Racing, premier steering wheels. Bill Harkins has talked about how much it made a difference last week at Las Vegas. He loves his new wheel, courtesy of Moser Racing, and maybe you'll love yours too. So the Dream Sim Rig, I think a combination of Apex and Moza, and you can use links in the description to save 5% off purchases for both suppliers. There you go. With that, we are ready to go. We got our shout-outs here, and maybe we'll give some more before the end of the race, but let's come on. Green flag stint, boys. Let's see it here. The 04 car, the 7 on the front row, the 2 and the 98 on the second. There's the 86 at Wilson, and Hogan and Welch, your third row here as we roll off into turn number 1. Great start for Brett Guzik, and we are side by side for both third and fifth. A little bit further back in the top 5.
Look who has returned to the top 5. The 2 car of Nick Nickerson. He has rebounded from some struggles earlier on in the race. So it's good to see him back up here. I talk affectionately bad about the guy all the time, but truly a great guy. I love to have him up front. I love to pick at him. It's my favorite part of being a broadcaster, honestly, I think. But yeah, he's putting a really good race together since that early trouble that he's had. But see if he can get past the 7 car, who is my pick to win the race. I still think that he has a really great shot here. 04 car is looking really strong, but if we get a green flag run in here, I think the 7 car is going to be a problem.
Benjamin Lacey. I mean, talk about a comeback. He was kind of quiet in the first half of the race. Started 7th to match his car number. It was It was a good start for him, but hasn't really sniffed the top 2, top 3 so far. So that number 7 running the wild car, or sorry, I should say filming the wild, being right behind, chasing down that 04 car as the 2 car gets involved. Some veterans, some of the all-time greats in the Bandit Racing League find their way to the front. This isn't what we expected, I would say, Chris, 30 laps ago.
Yeah, I mean, this is our trio from the championship of last season. These were the guys that were battling out week in and week out all last season. So it's good to see them all back up here. Little shades of last season. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing these guys go a little bit different approaches here. You know, Brett is really just holding the top line and waiting for you know, later in the corner to pull it down and get a nice straight drive off. Benjamin's really holding the bottom here, and it's really working for him. And Nick is kind of doing like a little bit of a shallower entry into the corner and letting the car drift up and carrying a lot of momentum down these straightaways. So this is really interesting to see. These are some of the best in our league here, and they're all doing something different, all trying to get past each other.
That's why I love Rockingham. So much personality in the way everybody can drive. It's a driver's racetrack because any line can work. It's just about, you know, problem solving and trying to figure out, okay, what is the best not only defensively if you're a guy like Brett Guzik, but just the best on pace. And unfortunately, I think for the 86 car and the 85 car, they're going to need to find that pace because they have really fallen back. Like second now, the gap between Paul Wilson and fourth, running really strong right now. And Nick Nickerson up there in third at the back end of that top 3. So I think we're separating out into 2 packs here. And Cody Welch in the 85 car, who's had good pace all day. Remember, early on, he was the guy throwing through the field, as there is number 10. Break it a perfect double digit there on cautions is Connor Gibson, and that was Tyler Rowland getting involved there off, actually not turn 2 for a change, back in turn 3 here. So we're going to go to the replay here, courtesy of Butt Kicker, and see what has gone wrong here. The 31 into the 18s, they were the original 2, Connor Gibson and Tyler Rowland, followed by the 74 of Keegan Clark, kind of piles there in the background, and just barely missing is Trey Ellis. That could not have been much closer there. So Connor Gibson, Tyler Rowland, unfortunately, both succumbing to a late race incident. And, well, I got, obviously, it's caution number 10. I don't like that. What I do like is this. Here we go, the 04 car coming down pit road. I was going to say this is going to be the final stop, I think, for most of the field. Everybody's in here, Chris. This is going to be huge, except Ashley Lyle and Christopher Hamilton, who pitted on lap 64. Could that have been the strategy call of the race? I think you can go 36 laps. Going to be on 10-lap older tires. Ashley Lyle maybe just made a genius strategy call.
And that is exactly the point I was going to make earlier when I was talking about being off strategy. This is exactly how she wanted to work out. Nearly got caught up in that wreck there with Tyler Rowland, but I mean, now it's all played out for her. She's back to the point, and we'll see how this all cycles out. I mean, once these cars get back out on track, I don't think that the 10-lap older tires are going to play that big of a difference right now, but maybe in 10, 15 more green flag laps, you're going to see that make a difference. So crank up the intensity because the patience for these drivers is already gone. They're going to want to go. I mean, this is about to get wild. I know I say that at the end of every single race here at the Bandit Racing League on Full Send Racing Network, but and, you know, this is going to get crazy, and I'm here for it. If you guys are running low on your refreshment there, I think now's the time to refill it because we're going to get a lot more cautions.
That being said, if you are playing the drinking game along at home and you are drinking a non-alcoholic beverage, which we don't recommend here on YouTube, we're going to ask you to be careful. This is now the 10th caution, and I can certainly say in my personal experience, yeah, at that point, that's where you start, start focusing less on the thing you're watching. So, yeah, I would just recommend, if any of you forget, the emergency services number is always 911, so obviously we don't recommend anything like that, and we'll do our very best to stop having cautions here on the broadcast for you, because that is the last thing we want is too much of that. But again, it's making the pit strategy interesting. So, as from a racing product perspective, it's certainly going to create some post-race drama. And one guy I just want to point out here, Mike Wright, definitely jumped up the order there in the pit cycle. I think he jumped up 3 or 4 spots. I'm guessing 2 tires, if not maybe none at all. Just taking field to the end, which would be interesting. I am curious to know how much tires are playing an effect for these guys. He's got a little bit of front right damage, as you can see. The front right tire just not quite flush with the chassis, but such minimal damage. You got to think that's little, if any, issue at all.
Yeah, I don't think that will play that much into how his car is going to handle for the rest of the race here. I do like that call, though. I mean, he needs the track position. He's shown pace. He's just been mired back in traffic all night. So it's going to be interesting here to see if he did take tires or he didn't, how that's going to play out for him. But right now, he just has to focus forward and stay out of trouble. I mean, we've seen it in the first 2-3 rows where guys are just trying to send her in there in turn 1. So just be patient here. I know it's been a tough race up until this point, but do the best you can to keep this thing there at the end.
So the front row, remember the 2 drivers that did not take tires on that last set of pit stops, the 2 that have been out here since lap 64, they can make it to the undone fuel. The question is, can they do it with pace, with the tire disadvantage to the rest of the field? Same with Jonathan Platt, who we barely talked about it at all. One of the guys who's been here longest in the Bandit Racing League, the 43 car, making his return tonight, as well as Alec Daffin on the second row. So those are your 4 that have not pitted on the most recent set of stops, and then it'll be Brett and Benjamin rolling off in those 2 rows behind, followed by Mike Wright and Nick Nickerson, and Cody Welch and Paul Wilson, the drivers on new tires. Anything can happen here. 23 laps to go when we take the green flag here. And Ashley Lyle is off. Another big jump in the 43 car. Not quite as loose as the other drivers starting in third in these restarts. We are green here at Rockingham for the 24/7 Sim Services 100. And further back, a crossover. The 2 car getting a good over-under done on the 7. Might have a shot as the 04 car loose once again in turn number 2.
Oh, those sticker tires are really showing up right now. Looks like driving on ice, but these guys will get them warmed up and hopefully in the track here soon. But this 45 car is setting sail. I know that there's one driver that is worried about making a pass in that car. It's that 04 Brett who's dominated most of this race.
We're going to keep an eye on Ashley Lyle as she moves through the field. There's the wreck. Brett gets caught by the 43. Massive wreck. Welch is in it. Guzik is in it. Wright is in it. We have not seen a wreck this far up the field all race, and it happens in probably the most pivotal moment. My first question, just looking through the drivers, how does Cody not have more damage? He just blasted the inside wall. Luckily, gonna have a quick repair in the pits, but I mean, Chris, it's happened again. Brett was caught in it. I think Benjamin Lacey in it. Yeah, the 7 car, massive damage to that back bumper there. Huge wreck off of 2 as guys just again jockeying for position, as you said, on sticker tires. And for the second time, Lacey and Guzik getting caught in a wreck. 2 of the favorites. Suddenly their entire race in jeopardy in the later stages.
I mean, I was just saying it, right? These guys are on stickers. They got to let them warm up, let the tires come in a little bit, but they're pushing. Their patience is gone. It's been long gone since probably about lap 20 for some of these guys. But yeah, I mean, that is a big wreck. That took out a lot of the contenders for tonight. As you see, there's going to be a lot of cars on pit road here. We're going to see who has fast repairs and who doesn't. I mean, man, that wreck was like a Talladega that we saw. I mean, a Daytona rather that we saw a couple weeks ago. I mean, took out damn near the whole field. So, man, that sure shakes things up.
Yeah, you see the 14, the 85 car just barely clipping the end of that little mini inside wall there on the backstretch before the main inside barrier. So, yeah, it is a question now of quick repairs. Let's look live on pit road. Welch has one. He's looking like that 85 car is fresh, ready to go for the last 20 laps. Brett should have one, but he is going to lose this battle to Mike Wright and Benjamin, as well as Cody Welch on pit road. Mike Wright's got a fresh race car. So does Jonathan Platt. So does Kevin Foster, missing that right front side of the hood there. So they're coming back. They're going to be quick. Fresher tires than anybody here, Chris, but not the stage of the race you want to be having a wreck. Is Sean Britt actually the first car off of pit road with a fresh set of tire, or the most recent pit stop, I should say. He'll be starting in 17th, so the top 16 if have not pitted on this most recent stop, as well as, again, Ashley Lyle and Christopher Hamilton up front, as well as Alec Daffin, all of whom pitted back on lap number 65. So what do you think, Chris? Is 20 laps enough time for these guys on fresh tires to make up that gap?
That is a tall task to ask. I mean, I'm predicting at this point that we're going to get a green-white checkered, but man, I think this is just really starting to show how much it means to win in the Bandit Racing League. These guys are going for broke every single lap that we have here, and they know that this is their chance. And I've said it 2 weeks prior. This is their chance to punch their ticket into the playoffs. They want to solidify that spot in the playoffs now. I mean, it is so hard to win here in the Bandit Racing League, given how good the competition is, and they want to go. And some of these veterans that have been blocked out of victory lane, from the 2 drivers that one of them was returning after some time off, and a brand new driver took a victory early last week. You know, these guys are like, hey, man, what about me? I'm the one that's supposed to be having these race winner graphics produced by one of the greatest copy and paste guys there is out there. So, it's definitely getting frustrating for them, and I think that's showing. And I think that that's so interesting as we get further into the season, as the staples in our league that have predominantly been winning over the past couple seasons are blocked out of victory lane, and it's going to get them frustrated, and they're going to start making these moves and doing uncharacteristic things on track. So that's something to keep your eye on as we progress through the season into the playoffs.
Yeah, be sure to send all your copy-paste graphic requirements to chris.ferreira@imaginary.email.com. That's going to be your place to go. Thank you, Chris, for being one of the premier, again, copy-paste graphics guys in the series, especially when they are most needed. You just saw the schedule there a moment ago for Bandit Racing League Season 11. And remember, as Chris is talking about, the 13 races to start off our season, any of which are win and you're in. So if you can run 11 of the 13 regular season races and pick up a win in the regular season, you are automatically locked into the chase with 12 cars to start off to race for the championship in season number 11. That's what the drivers who want a championship are looking forward to. But right now, they're just looking at Lyle as the 45 car pulls off here down to turn number 1, and we are ready to go for the last 20, actually about 17 laps now of great racing. And can those drivers on fresh tires make their way through the field? We look back to see Brett Guzik already off to a good start. Same with Cody Welch, and the work begins here, Chris, as we see another wreck. That's Sean Brick getting turned off the front nose of, who else do we see? I see Benjamin Lacey. The 7 cars night is over, Chris. The filming the wild number 7 car, what started out so fast, so promising, now finds itself looking the wrong way there. Crazy how quickly things can turn around here in this league.
It's my fault. It is. I picked him to win the race. Yeah, this is a track where I thought he was going to do really well at, and he did show a lot of speed here, but tough break for him. That's something I don't want to see. He was so good last season. I was hoping he would build upon that this season. Still has a long way to go. Still plenty of chances for him to knock off some wins, but man, that is a tough break for him tonight. He looked really fast, so hopefully we'll get back together next week and put together a win.
Yeah, as we see the butt kicker racing replay there is, whoa, I don't know what happened to Zach Hillman to bring that out. Just didn't even look like he hit the outside wall. It was just kind of adjacent to it and then hard left hooked it down into the 98 of Sean Britt. So my goodness there. That is going to be caution number, 12, I think, at this point? Yep, 12th caution of the day here as Ashley Lyle, again, still in control of the field. I think probably led the most restarts at this point. Hasn't led the most laps, certainly has been quick, but don't think she is leading in laps led at this point in the race. So crazy to see how much this has benefited her. We had a prediction there in the chat that Nick Nickerson was the guy to watch out for today as far as a race win. I think, Chris, there's a lot of merit to that. As a guy who's very quietly gone under the radar, I think has taken the ideal pit strategy here. I think pitting back on lap number, 60? Or no, he was on 75. So actually fresher tires than anybody else in the top 4. Ricky Hart Jr. after that, very quietly, another under the radar day for him, is back there in 5th position there in the 1 car. So I think those guys who pitted on 75, who have the little bit fresher tires, if we can just get some green flag racing, I think, Chris, those two, especially the GFR guys up front, are the guys to watch.
Yeah, these GFR boys are looking really fast. They had some trouble earlier in the race. On lap 1, Ricky almost went for a huge slide and took out nearly the whole field, but they've rebounded. Ricky led some laps. Nick's had some trouble. Now he's back up front, and Chris has been up front all night. So they're looking really strong. I know that just prior to that caution coming out, Nick looked to the inside on this 45 car. So this 45 car is going to look for
out there. I think two drivers that I don't think we historically think of Nick and Ashley as particularly super aggressive. So we're going to see the onboard Skype camera here from Ricky Hart Jr.'s perspective. But I don't think that they are seen as more aggressive drivers in the series. But I think you consider Lyle, the bumping around with Brett. You were talking about how vocal she was in the race chat. I think she's hungry for a win tonight. And I think Nick is kind of under the radar, but running the supposedly part-time schedule, though he has made all 3 races so far, is second in points. Like, that's your top 2 in points right there up front. I don't know if either of them are the type, especially this season for Nick, to be casual, to be passive, to just let the race go by. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of contact, a little bit of bumping and banging. And if that happens, I'm not even suggesting a caution. I'm suggesting, again, a guy like Ricky Hart Jr. could break his winless streak. I think is getting up towards 50 races now, despite how quick he's been. Or the guy I do want to talk about here, again, Christopher Hamilton for GFR Racing, one of the 3 GFR Racing cars in the top 5 right now. I think that 15 car, who was runner-up last week at Vegas, could be off to a really good start this season, especially if he can find a way to team with the 2 car, who I think will want to work with him, and they'll find a way, I think, together past the 45 car, would be my prediction. But, of course, Ashley Lyle, until she gets beat on one of these restarts, is still the one to look for.
Yeah, I agree. The bottom row here of the first 3 rows of GFR Racing is going to make it real tough on her, I think. But, yeah, I do agree. Nick is not used to being written off as not your race pick. I know that we've been picking other people besides him to spite him a little bit, but I think he's sick of that, and I think he wants to go get this win, and I think he will do what is required. But pace car is in. Let's see what we got.
Lyle Nickerson, the front row, the 45 car. Holy cow, what a jump. Lyle, until she stops getting these good starts, is going to be a force to be reckoned with, but Nick just throwing it in to turn number 1. I think he hit the nail right on the head here, Chris. He's hungry, and he is fast right now. And a yellow flag.
I'll tell you who's loving these cautions right now is that 45 car.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm not liking him too much because I want to see what this 2 car can do against this 45, but yeah, I know she's loving it. Every lap that we run under yellow is one less lap that she has to defend against that 2 car, and if she can keep restarting like that, it's going to be a pretty easy roll to the finish.
Butt Kicker Racing replay here. We see the 54 car of Hayden Paul. Okay, actually, it's slightly more interesting fashion. That was Brett Guzik trying to slide his way through the middle that actually led to that wreck. That was kind of interesting the way that happened. Let me see that one more time. I'm not saying it was Brett's fault. Just I want to keep an eye on how that caution came to be. Here's the 04 car. Oh, we had Cody Welch peeking him up on the inside. Oh, Brett was peeking 3 wide there between Benny Hogan and the 54 Hayden Paul. I don't know, Chris, when you see that, let me know. But there's definitely an argument to be made there that he kind of looked for that late move, got a bit aggressive, and it led to some chaos there.
Yeah, I hate to go against Bert there, but you know, this track is not a 3 wide track. I will tell you that. It's really tough to pull that off, and yeah, there's just not a lot of room there. And yeah, but thank you, Evan, for reminding us that cautions do in fact breed cautions.
Oh, dude, I wasn't aware.
Yeah,
back to back even.
I forgot. Yeah, back to back cautions breed cautions. It's like he's up here in the booth. He's just in the chat. So appreciate you, Evan.
Yeah, I think that perhaps the true copy and paste veteran of the Bandit Racing League. Maybe not Chris Ferreira. It could just be Evan. Although I do notice the second one was not a copy paste. It did have the S removed. So maybe that's Evan, like big brain. Maybe he's predicting this is the last caution. So these cautions will breed the next caution, which is the last one. End of sentence. So let's hope. Let's definitely hope, man. Cause,
let's sure hope. This could be a really great finish if we can get some green flag racing in. And I do kind of want to key up in the chat here and just say, hey, let's just get a really good finish for the second week in a row. So, and another factor here is that I know that Ashley wanted to win that race under green. I know that she was kind of disappointed that it wasn't green and she didn't get to race back to the line, but she has her own motivation here for winning this one and making a statement. So let's see what she can do. She's been very dominant on these restarts, but man, this is shaking up to be a good one here with these 2 cars up front. I mean, anybody in the top 5, top 10 can do it. I mean, really good performances out of everybody here. Curtis had a little bit of trouble earlier on. He's rebounded pretty well. Ricky's had trouble earlier on. He's rebounded really well. Eddie Haggie's up here in 7th. Really good run out of him. Connor Gibson was just involved in a wreck not that long ago. So I mean, really great performances out of everybody in the top 10. Kudos to them. But man, I want to see some green flag racing and see what these guys and girls can do.
Yeah, shout out to Eddie Haggie. The 97 car has been in the top 10 all day. Started 23rd up to 7th. I think he's been definitely one of the big movers, one of the better stories of today. He's been really quick all season in general. So with that, we are under caution number 13. We're making our way up towards 15.5 cautions. We're certainly getting close. Well, what is 15.5? That's between 24 and 7 as a number. 24/7 Sim Services is your place to go for all things race control, for your sim racing events, or for broadcasting as well as a package deal. You can get both and check out their website for both those services. 24/7 Sim Services, 24 and 7, of course, being the numbers, in the middle of which is 15.5. A number of cautions we are almost at. I think in the Segways Hall of Fame, that may have overtaken the previous offering as one of the best.
You know, as soon as you said the 24 and the 7, I knew you were going with that, but that was great. That was great. I think that NASCAR on Fox needs to consider hiring you at this point because you're making those guys look silly. So, man, that was a good one.
I mean, I like to think that in honor of my attempts at puns to bring in sponsors, whoever came up with 1 lap to go sponsored by Credit One Bank, I think they were trying. I think that's in the real world NASCAR series. I think they're close, but no, come on.
Yeah, no, you can. I can only imagine what you can do with all that.
Thank you. One day we hope. Check me out on whatever service is poorly broadcasting NASCAR in 10 years. But here we go, folks. We're getting ready. Aside from all that, we got how many laps? We got 6 to go here at this lap by. 6 laps to go here at Rockingham in the 24/7 Sim Services 100 at Rockingham Speedway. And into turn number 1 goes Lyle and Nickerson, your front 2. But again, don't forget about Paul Wilson and Alec Daffin. They're side by side in 2. And the 86 car going to get the better of that exchange. Paul Wilson here, Chris, I think a dark horse to go after this race win. He's been great on these early runs. And Chris, that's 14.
No, thank you, Evan. Might as well just say it in the chat now. Copy and paste that. And I'm hearing a lot of displeasure from the 2 car saying, what are we actually doing here tonight? So these guys are frustrated because Nick keeps getting right back to the back bumper of the 45 car, and then the caution comes out. So, man, if you could put a picture of frustration of what the definition would be, it would be from everybody from second to, I believe what we have, 35 cars on track total. So from second to 35, that'd be the picture of frustration.
I gotta say, I think, well, this will officially put us down to 2 laps to go in the race by the time this caution is over. I mean, Chris, straight up, is 2 laps enough? Like, I think that's why you got to be frustrated. Like, he's on 11 lap newer tires. Is Nick Nickerson? I think it's going to be tough with even 2 laps. You can run the best 2 laps of your life. Is he going to have enough time to get Lyle if he doesn't just send it into the back of her?
Yeah, it's putting him in this position where he's going to have to be really aggressive on the restart, and this is kind of bring everything full circle here. Is last week we saw at the end of the race. There was a dispute between a possible restart violation from Mike Wright, who was the ultimate race winner. We won't see that happen anymore. Under extreme circumstances, restarts will be officiated by the iRacing service. So whatever you get from that restart is what you're going to have to serve. If you get a black flag from the restart, you're going to have to serve it. You're not going to see race control really step into that. That was a league decision that we made, but this is putting Nick in that position where, what do? Do you chance getting the black flag to try and stay a little bit closer to that 45 car on this restart? Or do you lay back and possibly lose too much ground? I feel like what this is doing is Nick is going to have to be semi-conservative here. He's going to try and get as aggressive as he can, but he's going to have to be pretty conservative just so he doesn't get the black flag. And if we do make it around to the white flag before yellow comes out, it usually takes him a lap to get to the back bumper. He's going to have to move this 45 car out of the way. That is the only way around her because he can't afford to have time to try and race her cleanly. I don't see it happening. If he does happen to get to the inside of the 45 car, I can't see him making the pass cleanly. He's going to have to move her. And I mean, at this point, I hope Ashley can pull it off. I hope Nick can pull it off. But I would like that dramatic finish. I don't know about you.
So Evan, I'm going to get you to copy paste the he turned him because I think that's going to be more applicable here for this next segment. I think you're absolutely right, Chris. I think a caution due to Nick bringing out, or I don't think he'd be able to do it on the first lap. I think if we see a spin for the win, I think it will be with 1 to go. At which point, of course, cautions cannot come out here on the final lap. So. Going to be really interesting to see how that plays out and if we can even do another clean lap because this will be the green-white checker, our first one, and then we'll get our second here if we get another caution here in just a moment. But we're going to do a quick through the field here segment, as always we do on the broadcast here on Full Send Racing Network, presented by Perfect Shine Auto Spa. And I think for today's edition, instead of just going through the positions in the top 10 as we usually do, I'm going to do a little shout-out to a couple drivers who have gone under the radar and are currently in the top 5. The first of which is we have 1 lap to go here under the pace car before our 14th and hopefully final restart. Jacob Elkins, out of nowhere, the 09 car, making his debut tonight. I believe rookie to the series, starts in 5th here on this next restart. A little bit of damage to that number 09 car, but who doesn't have damage at this point? He's looked great. Connor Gibson, another great race for the Jimmy's Classic RC Company 31. He's moved up 12 spots since the start. He starts in 7th. Again, Eddie Hagee gone kind of under the radar tonight, but that McAfee HR Consulting number 97 car has looked good. And one more guy we want to shout out here, Abi Vusabasam, making his debut to the series, the 08 car in the Fanatec entry, is sitting up in the top 20 for the first time. Would be his first top 20 in the series. So just a few guys I want to mention, thanks to the, of course, Through the Field presented by Perfect Shine Auto Spa. And with that, the pace car off into pit road. 2 to go. It's not going to be long here, folks. 24/7 sim services, 100 at Rockingham, and a really good start for Alec Daffin. We may have 2 players in this fight for the win from the second spot. And here comes Ricky Hart Jr. Don't forget, he's on good tires as well. He and Paul Wilson may have a shot at this, but 2 to go. We're going to be hooked on this battle for the win. Apologies, folks, if you have somebody in the top 10, but here we go to the final lap. He's going to have 1 shot, Chris, maybe 2, but he's got 1 mile to do it. Apex Sim Racing, white flag, courtesy of Apex Sim Racing. Here comes the 2 of Nickerson. He's going to try it. He's going to peek. I thought he was going to go for the bumper. That may have been a shot. A hard checkup. Daffin may even try it on him here into turn number 3 and 4. One more time around, Chris. What's it going to be? Is it the 2 car? Is he going to put the bumper to her? Is he going to try it? Is he going to try the run off of turn number 4? I think we are done here. Wrap it up, folks. Fire up the buses. He'll try it. Will the 2? Photo finish at the line, but it's the 45 car of Ashley Lyle. We asked pre-race, would we get a defending or a new winner or a returning winner? It was the latter. The 45 car picks up win number 2, 5th on our career, and the 45 in a beautiful strategy call there to take the late pit stop, to decide to opt to stay out there and hope for some cautions, and that is absolutely what we got. Congratulations to Ashley Lyle, 2nd of the year at Rockingham. There we see her getting the donuts going. I was just letting them play, letting the audio from the car do the work, because the sound of these cup cars doing donuts is one of the most beautiful sights in all of racing. There we go. Ashley Lyle, the Virginia Beach native, has done it, brings it home, and that'll be number 5 in her career. She's going to go down to park it here at the lovely checkered sort of winners. It's kind of like a winner's area, but lacking a podium or any real festivities or any real visuals. But what a place to end off. What it was a crazy night. Nick almost got there. 0.04 of a second going to be your final winner's margin. But we don't have long here. We're going to go right into your interview here with Ashley Lyle here. And what a race. There's so much to talk about here, Chris. I can't wait. We're going to bring her in the broadcast booth here and get us started. It's going to be Nickerson, Lyle, and Daffin. Not in that order. Your 3 interviews for tonight on the podium here at Rockingham. What a finish in the Sim Services 247 100 here at Rockingham. Let's bring her up in the broadcast booth and get started for tonight's post-race interviews. Ashley, it is Marshall and Chris up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Marshall and Chris, it is now Ashley up in the broadcast booth as well. How are y'all?
We are doing great. We are so glad that we got a couple laps. We got a really fun finish there to justify what was many, many cautions, and you just barely hold off Nick in one of the great finishes of all time. It's always great to be on those moments that you know we're going to replay and compilations throughout the rest of the season. Just that last 2 laps, an incredible start, and then Nick goes on the attack. What can you do? Were you ready for a bump from behind, and just where were you putting that 45 car to avoid the 2?
I was just kind of putting it wherever I could go to hopefully try to take his line away and put a little bit of air on him, but more fundamentally just plant the throttle and try to get away from him, because if we went like the entire time that was happening, as much as you don't want to see repeated yellows, I knew if we didn't get those yellows, he was passing me. He had fresher tires, and Nick is just a better driver than I am. It was going to happen if we didn't get the yellows. So, I don't know. It was just go fast and try to hope that it worked out once we had a couple green laps, to be totally honest with you.
Well, one of the first things that gave you the opportunity to even be where you were at the end was that great, Chris and I both agreed at the time, the great pit call. It's a pit on lap 64. You kind of pit out of sequence. You pit a little bit early from the guys that were going to try to get new tires later. And to that point, I think we already had 7 or 8 cautions. We'd had quite a few yellows. Was that call at all based on the precedence of getting cautions? And you thought, just like you did, you'd maybe be able to run a lot of those laps up front under yellow? Or was that just kind of a lucky strategy pick to go do something different that happened to pay off?
Oh, that was absolutely the call. Yeah. Like I said after Daytona, man, I can finish first. I can finish 41st. I do not care. So I'm going to try to finish first all the time. And if I can do fun strategies to try to do that, cool beans, man.
I think one of the things that's going to make interesting is, like, as obviously it's a 13 race regular season, there's lots of opportunities for guys to get wins, but we saw once again Benjamin Lacey, Brett Guzik, 2 really fast drivers get stuck in incidents there, and they could go towards the back, have kind of semi-poor days on points once again. And if you keep taking these wins away, you're taking away automatic win in your in spots from really fast drivers. So we could see some surprises here at the end of the regular season there that don't get in on points. But yeah, 2 wins in 3 races. You did it in the last 2 races of season 8 all these years back. And now you come back to the series, you come back full time, and you're just showing out. And I find it interesting. You just said a moment ago about how Nick you think is a faster driver, but especially this year so far, the pace you've shown, I don't think there's much of an argument for that, at least right now. So is it the Cup car that's working for you? Are you feeling refreshed being back to the series full time? Just what is in the 45 car that's working so well through 3 races?
Thank you for the flattery with some of that too, because I will still vehemently disagree with that and put Nick far above myself, at least in regards to well-rounded ability, right? Like, I'm okay in short tracks. I got kind of lucky today. I'm all right, I'm really good in short tracks, rather. I got lucky today. I'm pretty decent on road courses. Super speedways are what they are. He is consistently great everywhere. So that's the difference there with what I mean. But regards to, like, what's going on in the head, I mean, I don't care as much about iRacing anymore. I don't take it as seriously. So, like, the little tiny things that happen throughout a race that might make you mad if you're taking it way too seriously like I used to, it doesn't really bother me that much anymore. So the calmer head does kind of help consistently throughout the course of the race. Disregarding the engine rev to Brett. Love you, Brett.
Yeah, I know there's some there's a bit of a moment there between you guys, but obviously hard race, and that's what we expect, and all those things get smoothed over as the year goes on. So, Ashley, congratulations again, 2nd on the year, 5th year career, and your first at Rockingham. You know what to do here, and I think this is going to become a segment that becomes recurring over the course of the year. But if you have any comments, you have any shout-outs you want to mention, or any sponsors on that 45 car, now's your time to mention them.
Yeah, I want to thank Morton Salt for not being aware that they are on a digital race car in a video game to any capacity, and they are providing me absolutely zero money nor free salt, but I want to thank them regardless. I do want to apologize to Dawson as well, because we had a little contact earlier in the race. I haven't seen the replay yet, so I still don't know exactly how balanced that was. I want to thank Brandon for chilling with me for a lot of the race. I want to thank you guys for putting on a fantastic broadcast. I want to thank Nick for not yeeting me off the face of the planet like he could have on that last corner. I also want to thank the Walt Disney World Studios for providing me with a handful of Mickey Mouse right now. And I want to thank my mom.
Awesome. Always great shout-outs there from you, Ashley, as well as the incredible driving, but one of the underrated aspects of your abilities here in this series. So we thank you very, very much for that, and congratulations. Second of the year, 5th year career. Couldn't have started season 11 any better. So we're looking forward to seeing what you do next week at Sonoma. Back to the road courses. That's most famously, I think, where you beat Nick there all those years back at Road America. So always looking out for the 45 at road courses. But we wish you the best of luck getting ready, and we will see you very soon.
Thank you. I'll talk to y'all next week when I finish 2nd behind Nick.
Oh, no. Never speak it into existence. Jinxes are a real thing up here on the broadcast. So good luck.
Fair point. Y'all enjoy your night.
Always great talking to Ashley Lyle, and the fact that I think it's becoming more common is really, really exciting this year. It's great that we always get some new faces, always rotating through the best and brightest in the Bandit Racing League. And this year, I think she has shown out as the best and the brightest early on in the season. Here's a guy that I'm going to bring in here who I'm very excited to talk to, especially given the way his season started. It's actually the first time we've spoken to him all season, which is crazy. If you told anybody from any other season of the Bandit Racing League that this guy would have his first podium in race 3, they'd be like, man, right, really? Like, take him that long? And that's because he's one of the very best that we have here in the series. It is Mr. Nick Nickerson up here in the broadcast booth. We will bring him in here momentarily for your second place interview. Where is our guy Nick? And to answer the question we had in the chat in just a moment, yes, we do have a great picture coming of that finish, that photo finish 400ths of a second apart. You'll see that before the end of the broadcast. Hey, Nick, it is Marshall and Chris up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
How's it going, man?
It's going pretty well, Nick. We were glad that we finally got a good end of the broadcast after many cautions. We were talking about a proverbial fictional drinking game. Some people were playing at home, and boy, we certainly hope they weren't here on the broadcast because what a caution-filled race. And we were talking. Chris obviously has the ear to the ear to the drivers. He's listening there in the chat, and it sounded like a lot of people, including yourself, were really frustrated with those late yellows. Do you think that? Well, I do think attributes to the biggest part the reason that great drive and that great pace in those last 2 laps didn't result in a win tonight?
Yeah, that's probably the worst race that we put on, and as far as I can remember. I don't know what was going on. Can't wait to watch the replay and see what was. I mean, these cars are so. I mean, granted they have a lot of power, but they're incredibly easy to drive. They got tons of downforce. I don't know why we're wrecking every single lap like that, and it's frustrating that. I'm on 10 lap newer tires than Ashley, and we couldn't get in more than an entire lap for me to get a good run. I had one good opportunity. The yellow came out a little like 1 second too early, but it is what it is. I mean, I've won races in the same way of just having the jump on the restarts as a leader. You get to hold the lead for quite some time, and if it's yellow after yellow, then you'll never give the lead up. So. Can't fault her for that. She did good restarts and whatnot. And, with 15 attempts at it, she can kind of learn my tricks and what I was going to do in the corners. And she was able to block it on that last lap or whatever on the restart. But, yeah, I don't know what was going on in this race. I hope it's not a preview of this entire season because it's going to be a long season.
Yeah,
yeah.
It really is. You sound a little bit lost for words, and I definitely I don't blame you. I know this was really a case of circumstance. Ashley said it in her interview. Absolutely, I think that 2 car, especially late in the race, I think you had by far the most pace, especially with Brett and those guys getting caught in those late race wrecks. You were just in a great spot. You made, I think, the more ideal strategy call overall. And it was interesting what you just said there a moment ago about how this car obviously high downforce, not too hard to drive, and we've seen a lot of wrecks tonight, and then. Not so much of the race last week. Actually, we got quite a few greens in the televised race, but in the practice race, it sounded like it was pretty caution-filled that week. This new car, this is the first time we've talked to you with the 750 horsepower Cup car. Is it one that you're finding hard to drive? Because we saw Curtis Yancey and Brett Guzik both get wicked loose tonight on restart, stuff that I know it's cold tires, but they don't typically do. So you are personally finding this car a little bit easier, and just how would you compare this to cars you've won championships in years past?
Well, I mean, I can't say that it's easier to drive. It is in certain circumstances. Obviously, you have to be careful about how much wheel input you have going into the corner, because if you get on the throttle too hard and you break the traction, then these cars are very aero dependent. So especially if you're in the back of the field, there's a lot of understeer and aero push and whatnot. But I still think they're easier to drive than the Xfinity car by a long shot. The biggest problem, obviously, is because they have so much drag that we end up being grouped up like crazy. Mm-hmm. It's hard to make passes and stay and maintain that pass. There's probably a lot of switchback. There's a lot of Rockingham. Like, what other series would you ever see people running too wide at Rockingham for multiple laps? Like, yeah. It's I and part of me kind of regrets being such an advocate for this car, especially after like 3 races. I'm just hoping that we'll all as a league we'll figure it out and we'll find out how to actually race them. Hopefully, kind of. I know I've been kind of high tense in the racing too, because I'm trying to get to the front all the time. I'm making my own mistakes, and so I think a lot of people are just tense about it. Maybe we can all kind of relax and get back to just normal racing, kind of figure out, give and take system with this thing. But yeah, man, it's just it's stressful right now after the 3rd race, and we're going to Sonoma next week, and I would like to say that I look forward to that, but after running a few practice laps, it is quite the handful. I'll just say that.
Okay, well, if the road course guy, the biggest road course ringer any series has ever seen, is saying we're going to have problems at Sonoma, that should be those of you listening, get ready, start prepping now, because that's a very glowing testament there. I guess the opposite of that. But yeah, to your point there about the car, Nick, I swear every season that's all I hear. Oh, I hate this car, can't wait for blank, and then blank comes around and that car's worse. I don't get how it happens. I mean, obviously, I've tried to run more stock cars recently, but man, I don't know what you guys are talking about here, but this Cup car, it's made for some fun racing. Like, you can't complain with a 400th of a second finish. Great racing last week, mid-race at Las Vegas. So it has potential. It's just it'll take some different circumstances and obviously a lot less cautions to work around it. But Nick, going into Sonoma next week, obviously 3 races in now. How does the approach change? I know you were talking about maybe not being able to run the full season this year, and then you only get 2 road courses here in the win in your end playoff system. So is there confidence that car will be, that 2 car, if you can run all the races, will be in the playoffs no matter what? Or are you confident about the rest of the year? Because I'm sure you got to be.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I said that I can't run every single race is with my work, I'm on call, and I'm actually on call right now. So I haven't got a call. So, but if there's ever a race where I'm only on call once a month, but if I ever do get that call while I'm racing, I have to pull over. It's kind of just one of those things. So that's kind of why I had to give up the idea that I am 100% going to run every single race. But I'm going to definitely try to make every race, and it's just trying to have fun. Hasn't been fun these past couple of races, but again, I feel like I think we'll collectively kind of be able to figure this style of racing out. It's been a couple of years since any of us have really run these things, but I don't even know really what to look forward to coming up in these next few races. We're just gonna have to see in the practice races, and man, I hope they're putting on a good show at least when we are running green, because there's a lot of side by side and drafting and side drafting and this and that and position changes. I'm sure it's chaotic to kind of follow, but just know we're all stressing like crazy in the cockpit.
It's been great. That's why I'm confident. I feel like I'm a lot more positive right now than you're feeling, and that's why I'm like, we're gonna let you go, Nick, because I feel like you just it was a really good race. You can't take away that probably could have been yours and arguably should have been in some capacities, but just didn't turn out this way. But it's a long season, and I'm really happy to hear that there's a very solid chance that you'll be able to make the full year. And even if you get called twice, there you go. You still have enough to have the win in your in stats count. So. With that, I'm going to let you go in a second. But first of all, any fans, any sponsors, and anybody watching at home you want to shout out? You know the deal. Now's your time.
Yeah, since this is the first time on the broadcast this season, just got to thank everybody that watches. And Marshall and Chris, you guys for doing the broadcast. You guys have been doing an awesome job. I caught Daytona. I wasn't able to catch last week's just yet. I'm kind of busy, but I'm sure it was a good one. And this one, we'll see. I don't know if I want to sit through all those yellows, but I'll definitely skim through it at least. But for the sponsors this year, man, with GFR, we got a few returning sponsors and a couple new ones. Obviously, Big Red Propane is back for this season. Clutch Automotive, Perfect Shine Auto Spa, Sueno Diazzo, Advanced Auto Parts, VIP Glass, all returned this season. And this year we also got XL Parts as a new partner with the team, so definitely appreciate them. And of course, Geezer Authentics and your channel, Full Sends Racing Network, man. I appreciate all the work that everybody does to put this league together to make it is what it is. It's as frustrating as it is, it's still amazing that we can do what we're doing. And man, appreciate it.
Perfect. Couldn't have said it Betty Enter. Betty Enter. Jeez. That's what 17 cautions will do to a broadcaster. But
17, guys.
Yes, sir. 17. Anyways, on that bombshell, we're gonna sign off. Let you go do your thing. And again, Nick, I certainly hope next week you're feeling better about the overall outlook of the season, because I promise you the racing is great, and once the cautions get figured out, we're in for another good year. So thank you as always, Nick. Congratulations, first podium of the year, and we look forward to many more.
All right, man. You take care.
There we go. Yeah, it's very rare, Chris. I'll bring you back in here. I know you had some work you were doing in the background, but it's very rare we hear the 2-car kind of that down, and it says something about how good of a driver you have to be that disappointed in a second even.
I mean, that's very uncharacteristic out of him, and I honestly I like it. I want to see a fired up Nick Nickerson going into a Sonoma where I know that he's going to be so fast. So, yeah, I mean, we'll wrap up at the end, but yeah, it is very odd and uncharacteristic to see him that upset about the racing. He's usually super happy and very humble in his talks. It's very odd to hear him talk in that manner, but I like it.
I do too, and unfortunately enough. But I like what it promises for the year, and I like the attitude I think he's going to have going forward. Especially good that he's as hungry as he seems to be. With that, your final interview of the night, bringing him into the room right now, Mr. Alec Daffin, driver of the number 48 car, first podium of the year in his first race of season number 11. Hey, Alec, it is Marshall and Chris up at the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got you loud and clear.
Awesome. Welcome, Alec. Congratulations. First race of the year, I believe, for that 48 car and the first podium of the season to boot. That was a really great finish in front of you. You were involved. You were about just as close. And man, what a crazy race. 17 cautions in the end, the final tally. And you talk about just everything that could go wrong for a lot of guys going wrong. Do you think today was a case of you were making an active attempt to work your way out of those potentially dangerous scenarios, or were you just kind of, was there any luck involved in the fact that that car was there at the end, as competitive as it was?
Definitely some good luck and bad luck. I mean, obviously early in the race it was very messy. Got involved in a couple incidents. I don't think any of them 100% my fault, but I probably could have done some things better, been a little less aggressive. Had a little better situational awareness. Sorry to anybody that I wronged throughout that. But yeah, I mean, I think track position was definitely key. Because obviously tires matter a track like this, but it can be somewhat hard to pass. So I was able to stay on old tires a couple times and maintain my track position relatively well, especially at the end there, because I was on like 5-10 lap hour tires the most of the field, but was able to get up on the wheel there and defend my positions, and it worked out in the end, thankfully.
Yeah, seeing you back up in the top, really the top of the order here for the first time all season. For those of you that maybe haven't seen as much of Alec here in season number 11, that's what we came to expect last year from season 10. You showed that pace that won you so many races last season, made you a championship contender. And this felt like kind of the first continuation of last season tonight here at Rockingham. So does a lot of that come down to the track? You know, it's been a little bit. Forgive me, that 48 car. You seemed like you were quick everywhere last year. So just kind of inform us a little bit. Where do your potential interests lie, and where's your speed? And is this a track that you think should have resulted in a podium for you?
I mean, over time, this has been one of my best tracks. The last month or two, I've kind of fallen off. I've started to struggle here quite a bit, which, I mean, I messed up my qualifying lap, so I started 24th. Even so, I would probably been back after the top 10. So I think part of that was just kind of struggling a little bit. But, I mean, I still know how to get around here, and I feel like in race pace, I'm decent. So, I mean, yeah, overall, I feel like I'm still fast. But, I mean, there's definitely a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill involved tonight, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, with that, we now I hope that groove is back for that 48 car, because again, one of the I think in the active drivers, you got to be a top 5 there in the wins tally. So you've made your way up there to the top of the leaderboard a number of times, and as we look to the rest of the calendar, I'll put it up on screen now. But Sonoma, Kansas, Dover to round out the month. Any of those 3 tracks, ones that particularly appeal to you, and maybe we'll see the same pace tonight, maybe in a caution, or not, if not cautionless, less cautioned race.
Not sure. I mean, I like Sonoma, I like Dover, but I'm not planning on running full time because the 550 horsepower tracks not really my thing. So I mean, I'll definitely be back later in the season, but I don't know how many races I'm gonna run. Like, I'll say Sonoma and Dover probably up my alley. So I don't know if I win those races, but hopefully I can be competitive though.
Yeah, we certainly agree, and yeah, especially it's good if you're not feeling like it's going to be a full-time season for the 48 car. Good that we got the chance to see you here in Rockingham, especially for as close as you were there in that final finish. So you're one of the veterans here, Daphne. I think you know what you're doing in the broadcast booth. But if you got any shout-outs you want to mention, any friends and family watching at home, any sponsors in that 48 car, now's the time to mention them.
Thank you for doing the broadcast, you and Chris. Bill for putting on the league, and everybody for racing me clean out there. And yeah, it's good to be back. It's been a while, but yeah. And then thank Shaw Racing Products and my Twitch viewers at Alec Deffen48. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Hello to Alex Twitch if you're still live streaming there, and yeah, thank you for
it off.
well, great performance as always there, Alec, and great to see you back. Your a face I like talking to, and I like having back up here joining us for the post race interviews. So great to see. We hope you join us again sometime later this season, and we hope we can see more great performances like we've seen so far throughout the last couple seasons.
Yeah, thank you, Marshall. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, see ya. And there you go. Final interview of the day for Alec Daffen, their driver of the number 48 car. Again, that is one that those of you that maybe haven't joined us much this last couple seasons, if at all, maybe this is your first season watching Bandit. I think, Chris, you can agree, you watched quite a bit of Alec last year. One of the premier talents. I mean, as far as how many wins he racked up last year, he's kind of what Cody Welch and Ricky Hart were in the seasons before they stopped winning. I think, to a similar level of driver, wins at very similar tracks, and he's a guy to watch whenever he comes back. Keep the 48 car circled on your screens there.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really fast. He showed up last season and showed how fast he was, and I mean, he came away with a podium finish tonight with his first start of the season. So I'm really looking forward to see what he has for the rest of the season. I know that he may be running a more of a part-time schedule, but you know, once you get the first good finish, it gives you the itch for some more. So hopefully we'll have him back. But to kind of get into what we had tonight, man, I mean, I kind of expected this a little bit. I don't know if I expected it to this extreme, but what a night we had. I mean, lots of cautions, but at the end of the day, the third week in a row, a great finish. I mean, you can't get a much better finish than that. And I mean, I really like what I'm seeing out of this 45 car. I mean, she's doing all the right things at the right times, right strategy tonight, and she was able to keep it up front, holding off one of the best that we have in the league, who is just getting hungrier and hungrier every week. He definitely could have moved her out of the way. In my opinion, I think that was fully available to him if he wanted to, but he chose to try and do it through some racing, and I respect that out of him. And I know that's kind of the route he's going to continue to take, but we'll see how the season builds for him as this drought, we'll call it a drought for Nick Nickerson. I mean, I know that he won the championship race last season, but 3 races without a win from Nick Nickerson. I mean, that's a long time, and from what we're traditionally used to. So, yeah, no, I mean, I wish we had a little bit more green flag racing tonight, but I think that overall, the final product that we got was really great, and I'm looking forward to next week going left and right. I know you're looking forward to that. I really like Sonoma. It's a faster paced road course that I think has a little bit of a different feel to it sometimes. I'm not sure if we're doing the full course or the carousel, or if we're doing the NASCAR short version of it. But either way, I'm very excited for Sonoma. But to wrap it up here, I mean, thank you for having me once again. I'm really enjoying myself up here in the booth with you. It's really fun to call these races. It's less about calling the race. I think that we're kind of just chatting and talking about racing at the same time. So I'm loving your little inside jokes that you keep plugging in here. Thanks for Evan for kind of being the 0.5 of a guy, the half guy in the booth in the chat there. So thank you to Evan. Thank you for all the viewers that came out tonight and support us on a week-to-week basis. I really appreciate that. And of course I got to plug myself here. Well, not myself, but I got to plug the league. Bandit Racing League on Facebook, Bandit Racing League on Instagram. That's where you're going to find us. That's where we're going to post everything. You'll see all the updates from the league. Make sure you check us out on those platforms as well as checking out the website. I will say we were looking at the website. I don't know if you showed it. We have a hat out, and it's a really, really nice hat. So if you're looking to get some new merch, check out the hat. I really like the hat. I'm probably gonna get one for myself and maybe for my dad. But yeah, check out the hat, and yeah, we'll see you guys next week at Sonoma. I'll let you wrap it up.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Chris. Couldn't have said it any better. Yes, thank you to Evan Wall, our other color commentator in spirit. Yeah, that hat is sick. Unfortunately, we didn't have the updated Geezer Authentics website. I will for next week. We will have all the new stuff because the new BRL logo is great, and it looks great on a hat. I know exactly which one you're talking about. So the one that I'll have to look out for myself, and if you are looking to support the league, just a really slick-looking piece of apparel, I think that's a great choice for you. So with that, we'll wrap it up. We're going to go to our sponsors. First of all, our series partners that help us put on the Full Send Racing Network's coverage of the Bandit Racing League. First of all, iRacing, the simulator that we put it on. Tonight it was more of iPacing, but still, it did its job, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Now, of course, the Bandit Racing League is the league we run here on. That is the older logo. We'll get that updated for next week. But Apex Sim Racing is your sponsor for all things sim racing accessories. So again, wheels, button boxes, you got pedal decks, anything you can imagine to get yourself started in the world of sim racing. That's exactly where you want to go. Go and use the link below in the description or use code BANDIT to save 5% off your purchase. Thank you to Perfect Shine Auto Spa on behalf of Kevin Foster as well for their sponsorship of the series, as well as Track Camps Gourmets, your custom camera track package for all things broadcast or otherwise on iRacing. Of course, they are paid packages, and you do need to get permission to use them on broadcast, but go to Track Camps Gourmets at the link in the description below to use them. Unfortunately, tonight, not custom camera package. They, unfortunately, at least not as when I got the package, they don't have a Rockingham setup. So the one track I've ever found that they don't have tonight, unfortunately, they didn't. So if you notice the cameras weren't quite as slick as usual, that was likely why, and that's because Track Camps Gourmets is so good. So look forward to that next week at Sonoma. We're going to see some beautiful angles from them. Thank you to EvanWallMedia.com, our place to get all of our graphics with the series. And I know he's very busy right now, but of course, EvanWallMedia.com still always there. Go check his stuff out, and we'll see if he's potentially available for some sponsored graphics work. But as well, our second and a half commentator. So we thank him for everything he does in the chat and all of his awesome catchphrases we still use to this day. despite him no longer being the primary broadcaster. We got Butt Kicker. Thank you to Butt Kicker for all of their great products they make. They got seat shakers to really amp up your sim setup. If you can afford to add some extra stuff to your sim racing rig and you want to get really realistic, the first thing I would recommend is a Butt Kicker. So go check them out. Of course, Moser Racing as well. You want to talk about sim racing accessories, specifically wheels. Incredible quality stuff from Moser Racing. Again, Bill Harkins, our very own, talks all the time about how great his wheel is, courtesy of Moser Racing. And again, we thank them for sponsoring the series and the great products they give. And again, use their link in the description below. Then it's GeezerAuthentics.com, our place for all things Bandit Racing League merch. Of course, for the drivers, any proceeds towards them go back into the league to the driver points fund and help reward drivers at the end of the season for their final finishing positions. And it's great to just keep it a cyclical cycle. You get really cool stuff for the league, and your favorite drivers driving every Wednesday get the benefits of that as well. SimRacerHub.com, finally, your place for all things stats in the Bandit Racing League. The link to our SimRacer Hub site is on the in the description. You can either go directly there, or you can go to the BanditRacingLeague.com website, which has a direct link of its own. Finally, tonight's race sponsor, we want to once again thank 24/7 Sim Services. If you want to host a custom iRacing event, you need some race control, and you need to, all the official fixins of running your own race with cautions and penalties and everything considered, and everything that goes along with race control each and every week, like we have in this series. Go check them out. And they also do broadcasting services for your event to be perfectly run and broadcasted. Go check out 24/7 Sim Services. Both their website and their Facebook are linked below. One more time for myself and Chris Ferreira. We are your hosts here on the Full Send Racing Network coverage of the Bandit Racing League. Thank you to Bill Harkins and all of those who put this series on, as well as, of course, our awesome second-half commentator, Evan Wall, and all of our sponsors. There is the schedule for the rest of the rest of the season. Next week, we are heading to Sonoma, our first road course of the year. Then Kansas will bring us into a 2-week break until the 29th, where we come back at Dover. And that will be our 6th of 13 races here in the regular season before our chase cutoff and our 2, 4, and 3 round series, that the best of which, the best 4 drivers, go on to the finale at Homestead, Miami, to race for the Bandit Racing League Season 11 title. With that, folks, have a great rest of your week, great rest of your night, and we will see you all live here next Wednesday at Sonoma for the 4th round of the Bandit Racing League, the Season 11 Cup Series here, courtesy of Full Send Racing Network. And here is that awesome shot of our 0.04 second finish tonight at Rockingham. Goodbye, everybody.